Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and we're back again with another Spirit Island video. So, a while ago, in the comments of one of my videos, someone requested that I talk about teaching the game. And in the time since, I just haven't had the opportunity to do so. However, this past weekend, I was at a board game convention for 4 days, and I had an absolute blast. Over the course of those days, I learned about 18 new games and, was brushing up on the rules for a couple games that I only played like once before. So I really got to go through the process of learning games over and over and over again, and I even got to teach a couple games. I did teach some people how to play Spirit Island, though I did not record it. And so just going through that process of learning so many games rapid fire and teaching so many games so quickly, I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared now to talk about how to teach games better and how specifically to teach Spirit Island better. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to teaching Spirit Island is just a little bit of self-awareness that we need to have about this game. And that is, of course, that it is not an easy game to play. Here is a chart of every single game on Board Game Geek. So the x-axis is its complexity rating, and its y-axis is its, how good it is rating. And so we can see that the average game has a complexity of 2.21. And the average game is rated at 6.76. This was from an article that was taking a look at doing an analysis of why do more complex games on average get higher ratings, but the stuff that we care about is the complexity. So Spirit Island is rated at, I believe it's like a 4.06, and so that is Spirit Island right there. The thing to note is how many games are more complex than Spirit Island and how many are less complex. My back of the napkin math says that Spirit Island is in the 98th percentile. That means that 98% of all games that exist are less complex than Spirit Island. It is not an easy game to learn how to play. And so it is not an easy game to teach either. And so it's the perpetual problem that people seem to have. How do you teach this game? How do we do it better? So I want to talk about that. Like what makes Spirit Island complex? One of the ways that a board game can be more complex is if it incorporates more types of mechanics. So there are lots of mechanics, and you can make an argument for all kinds of them, but some of the major mechanics that exist in Spirit Island is area control, cooperation, deck building, set collection, hand management, and asymmetric player powers. And, there's plenty others you can make arguments for, but I think this gets the point across. There's a lot of different things going on in this game. Any one of these aspects can be isolated, and an entire game can be made just on that. In fact, I've got a couple examples of great, popular, really fun board games that are either explicitly one mechanic or really heavily focus on one of those mechanics. As a side note with Risk, this is the cover of Risk that I had growing up, and up until I made this video, I didn't realize that this was not like the most common cover, or at least when I searched the game on Google, it took me a long time to find this art. I guess some other art must have been the most popular, most sold version, because it was one that I had never seen before, but this is one I grew up with, so that's why I picked it. So we could take all of these games and, kind of build like a family tree. What would happen if you combined elements of deck building and hand management, or combined elements of area control and variable player powers? What kind of games would come out of combining these elements? You might get something like this, Magic the Gathering's all about, right, combines deck building, hand management. Hanabi, cooperative set collecting. Very, very fun game, by the way. I really like Hanabi. I mean, I guess I like everything here, but Hanabi really tickles that something for me. Anyways, area control and variable player powers, right? Root, the asymmetric war game. Well, if you were to take all of these different concepts and pull all of them together, you would get Spirit Island. So, in a sense, you could get better at Spirit Island just by getting comfortable with the other elements of the game. And in fact, in some of the videos that I've made, you could take a look at it through this lens and say that, for example, I had that video about heat maps. Well, that's me really focusing on the area control nature of Spirit Island. Or I had that video about, how to do better multiplayer games, and that's really focusing on specifically the cooperative nature. Learning how to play Starlight, I put that guide out recently. That's just the deck building and how to, pick the right cards to get the right elements, right? That's the deck building aspect of the game. Right, you could really focus on any one of these aspects and really dive deep and use that as an avenue by which to get better at Spirit Island. And that's what makes it hard, right? Is that there are so many different skills that you need to be adequate at in order to succeed at Spirit Island. And so people that might not have as much experience with board games might struggle with it because maybe they are not used to the idea of, I just play all my cards every single turn. Why would I want to hold cards back? Why would I underplay? And then they wind up in a reclaim loop or whatever the implication might be. So I guess I really want to stress that Spirit Island is a hard game. There's a ton of stuff going on. And so we as teachers are then burdened with trying to figure out how to make this easy out of all that complexity. All right, so after all that prelude, let's talk about how to teach Spirit Island. And the first thing is more prelude. So let's talk about the keys to teaching really any game before we focus on Spirit Island itself. And so the first rule, the first key, the most obvious one, is know how to play the game yourself. When you're teaching a game, you're kind of putting on a little bit of a show because you're trying to guide someone's experience. You're trying to establish the framework that they have mentally before they engage with this game. And a good, effective teacher can get the person learning into the right headspace. So if you don't know how to actually play the game yourself and you get hung up on rules questions, that'll kill the flow of the teach, and it'll pull someone out of their suspension of disbelief that you buy into when you get into a game. Second, and this will probably be the most controversial one, is going to be playing with the right people. So before, let's use Spirit Island as an example. It's a very hard game. It's a very complex game. You want to be picky as to who you're going to introduce the game to and who you're going to teach it to. I would not teach Spirit Island to my 70-year-old mother who likes to play Yahtzee, and that's about all the excitement that she can handle. Love her to death, but it's not the game for her. You gotta pick the right demographic. You want to pick that established board gamer who already knows a lot of these kinds of mechanics, so that way putting them together doesn't have such a high hurdle to cross. So you'll have to pick the right type of person to play the game. Certainly there's nothing wrong with kind of having like a stretch and teaching someone who is kind of on the edge. Nothing wrong with that. But certainly filter out the type of person who will not get this game. You don't want to force someone into an unpleasant experience because they're not going to want to be mean to you, so they're probably going to just force their way through the game, have a terrible time, and then, just life goes on. But if we're a little bit more picky, we can avoid that bad situation altogether. Anyways, we pick the people, we know how to play the game, we're actually teaching the game. The first thing you want to do is establish the foundational theme. Yes, there are abstract games that exist, but pretty much all board games these days have a theme, and the entire game is designed to evoke that theme, evoke these emotions, create this world that you are existing in while you are playing this game. And the mechanics serve to actualize that vision. The mechanics exist to create and establish this theme. And so if you understand the theme first, you can understand the game forwards and backwards. You can sometimes understand rules if you just imagine yourself as, that Viking going out trying to, raid some land, because you're like, okay, I get it. I need to collect the weapon before I go on the attack, because that's what a Viking would do. They would have to build a boat before they can cross the ocean. I understand the ordering and the justification for the various elements of this game. Second, you want to explain the core rules and mechanics. All of these rules and mechanics, like I said, will tie into a theme, and so that creates a really nice package. You can say, great, well, if you are this Viking, how do you build that boat? Okay, well, you need the wood. How do you get that wood? And, by focusing on thematics first, you establish the why, and then you explain the how. It will just really fit together nicely and easily. Well, great, we had the theme. We know how that we're playing out this theme. Well, why are we trying to do these things? What is our ultimate goal? You need to explain the objectives next. We are doing all of these things with the end goal of doing something. Okay? Now I understand, the theme. I understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, and then why we're doing it. So we pretty much have a picture of the game. So the next thing that you'd want to do is, play through a sample turn or two. So it's an example. Hey, great, do this, do that. Here's the action. Here's the choice you make. And that's how you do it. Play goes on. Great, awesome, thank you. I understand it. I've got a sense of what's going on. I get a sense for the flow. Okay, just one or two turns should be enough for really any game. And then, pack it up and get ready to start the real one. This next step is a choice. You may or may not choose to do it, but you generally try not to. If it's not quite clicking for them yet, you can start to prime ideas for what a good turn might be. I think a big part of the joy of gaming is the joy of discovery, and saying like, oh my gosh, if I do this, I can do this, 1 + 1 = 3, and now I win. And I think it's really nice to leave that joy of discovery up to the other person, let them have that aha moment. But if they're really struggling at this point before the game starts, you might want to prime a couple ideas. Hey, check it out. If you did this, you did this. That would have a really good thing happen. And, kind of help them get over that hurdle, so that way they have a better start to the game. Next, I have prioritize fun, not winning. I'm sure we've all played some competitive game against someone who just kicks our shit and just destroys us. Some game and you lose by like 75 points and you're like, this isn't even fun. You're 2 turns in and I can just feel like I'm getting blown out. And I'm like, if I can't even imagine winning, why should I even bother playing? So if you're playing a competitive game and you are the only one who knows the game, you're obviously going to win every time. I mean, everyone knows that you're going to win, but you gotta, make it close. So for you as the competitive, knowledgeable player, maybe you should try a troll strategy. Think of the worst strategy that you can and try and make it work, right? Just mess around a little bit. Keep it close. Make it fun. With Spirit Island, it's cooperative, so I'll get more into that a little bit later. And then this last little note is that games can be taught in a non-linear fashion if it is conceptually smoother. So in really every game, there is some cycle of setup and payoff. And their setup and payoff is oftentimes spread pretty far apart. So if I were to explain the elements of a game in linear chronological order, there is going to be a lot of setup that happens before anything gets a payoff. And this can lead to a situation where at some point over the course of the turn, as the person you're teaching is trying to keep it all straight in their head, they've got like 5 or 6 different things set up and nothing is paid off yet. And so they're trying to memorize all these different things and they don't really understand the benefits of any one of them. So I find for a lot of games it is better to teach concepts out of order in terms of chronological things, so that way entire concepts can be taught together. Okay, you do this thing, and then down the line, here's the benefit. You do this other thing, down the line, here's this other benefit. So that way, it's easier for people to keep everything organized in their brains. And then when you go to playing through a sample turn, you could be like, hey, we're setting up this thing. We already talked about the payoff down the line. Then you set up this other thing. We already discussed that payoff. And you set up this third thing. And we already talked about that payoff too. And then later in the turn, you get rewarded. You get rewarded. You get rewarded. And that will go off a lot easier. So how do we apply this to Spirit Island? Well, here is my general progression after, I know the game. I've picked the right people. Here is the general things that I do. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'm going to, have a video recording of me doing exactly this up in just a second. But just so you understand the categories that I'm going through as I teach the game. It looks just a little something like this. So, first explain the lore and the theme, and I use the game pieces to tell the story. So, if I'm talking about an explorer traveling across land, I'm going to pick up an explorer and show them, like, this is the guy exploring a land, right? Well, explorers build a town, and I hold up a town. Like, he built this. Great. Well, a town grows and develops, and a town builds a city. And I hold up a city tile. I'm like, this is it grows on top of this town, right? This town has to be there first before the city can exist. Just by priming that thematically, that'll come into play later mechanically. Well, these guys are going to ravage, destroy the land. They're going to add blight, and I hold up a blight piece, and I'm like, look at this. Talking about, there is the native people of the island, the Dahan. I pull the Dahan out. So now they see, like, this is it, right? This piece represents this bit of lore. Great. So after that, they get a general sense of the pieces that will be on the board. So we set up the board. And I explain the different parts of the island board. These are the wetlands. This is the ocean. This is the sands, mountains, right? Go into the ravage, build, explore, cycle, and the blight loss condition. So I told you the theme of what they're generally trying to do, but now let me explain to you mechanically how we represent that. We ravage in this land. We build in that land. We explore in that land. We add this blight. If too much blight gets added, then we lose the game, right? Great. We're still in the realm of theme, and we're constantly going back and forth between theme and mechanics, so that way it all feels intuitive and it feels smooth and sensible. And now I would introduce the idea of, what are we going to do to stop that? If we don't do anything, we will lose. So we are spirits, we are, the gods. We do not physically exist on the island, but, we can come down and have our presence influence the island, right? Show off a presence token. And we do so with power cards, and I explain how the power cards work. And I like to explain tokens at this time too, because power cards will add tokens, and then I can basically differentiate between power cards do a thing now, and tokens have a payoff down the line. Explain the different tokens, explain different parts of the power card, and as a part of this, I'll also make sure to show off majors in addition to minors. Okay, this will, the reason I pull up majors is for the elemental threshold, and that will, teach the elements. They combine together, they create this elemental threshold, and, I like to take a damage major, because if you've never played the game, utility doesn't make sense yet, but, damage does. Bigger number equals bigger smash, right? We all know that. So having someone like Pillar of Living Flame, which says plus 5 damage, right? It goes from 5 to 10. It's double the power when you threshold it. That's very intuitive, very obvious for any player. So establish all of that. Then I finally let them pick their spirit. And the spirits that I let them pick from is going to be the 5 Horizon spirits plus River and Lightning. When you pick up Horizons, it comes up with just enough cards that you can... If you have to retool a few things, but you can make 7... what are those called? Power progression decks. There's just enough cards for 7 power progression decks, and it makes it a really easy way to make people not play Earth and Shadows. I think those are terrible first-time spirits, because if you play them wrong, your whole thing falls apart. They're surprisingly challenging spirits to play, particularly for first-time players. Because if you don't understand the real pattern and the cycle of how the game works, you just can't utilize those spirits effectively. But all the others, I think, are perfectly fine. I do try and shy people away from Mud, so sometimes I'll just kind of put them on my own board, just to, so that way you can't pick them. I already took them. But otherwise, I like to pick Vital Strength of the Earth, because he basically doesn't do anything at all. And when he eventually gets to do something with his 2 uniques to, combine, double the Explore and Dahan growth, and finally do damage, it shows off combo potential, and you can do all kinds of teaching moments with him. But he also, sucks at winning the game. So it gives plenty of space and time for your teammate to do it themselves. But yeah, so I let them pick the spirit. They let us give them as much time as they want on the back to kind of prime their thinking. But then we flip over to the front and, start with the tracks, right? And income, maximum card plays. We've already talked about all that stuff with cards. And then I divert them to the innate. Since we've already talked about major elemental thresholds, it's a natural continuation of that to get into innate powers. Then, from there, we'll go into growth options, because, well, how do I power up my spirit? How do I access these higher levels? With growth. And then I end with the special rule, because even if the spirit had no special rule whatsoever, they'd still be playable. You could completely blank out the special rule, and Spirit Island would still work. It would just be a lot harder, but it would still functionally work. So there is no need to worry about the special rule. So after they understand their spirit, I kind of allude to events and fear cards, but I say, look, they're random. We don't know what's coming. We don't need to worry about it. Don't sweat it. Let's just get into the game. And if needed, we can play out a little sample turn. You do this, But really, my goal is to start playing as quickly as possible. I firmly believe that once you get going, once you play the game, you get a feel for it. By turn 2 or 3, you will really understand what's going on. But yeah, that's kind of my ordering. And next we'll see my recording of me doing that thing. So enjoy, I'm going to teach my friend, and we'll play a game. Cheers. All right, so this is Spirit Island, and in front of all of us we have our own spirit or our own island boards. And so these are the pieces, that the boards that we're going to be playing on. Eventually we'll put them all together to build a board. They're kind of cool. They can go together any which way that you want. So really interesting. One of the things I like about this game is how just flexible and varied it is, and you can literally just build a new board any way that you want. But the story of the game goes a little something like this. So we got these explorers. They are going to come out, travel across the island, and come down somewhere on the board. And these explorers, they will build up towns. And then those towns, they might continue to build up, and they will build these cities. And all the while that they are building these towns and their cities, they're going to be ravaging the board. They're going to be mining the island for resources, and in the process creating a lot of ecological damage, and that will add blight. So one of the ways that we can lose this game is if too much blight gets added to the board. So blight is definitely a bad thing. And so, that's one of the ultimate goals that we're trying to stop from happening. And so there's a lot of different approaches that you can take to this. But yeah, blight is ultimately the most common way that you're going to lose the game. So we have all those invaders, but there are also the Dahan. The Dahan are the locals of the island, or the natives, and they are there to help us. They are not necessarily required for us to win. Some spirits are really good at utilizing the Dahan as part of their strategy. Some spirits are completely indifferent and they don't utilize them whatsoever. So let's take a look at the invaders. Like I was saying before, there's a lot of flexibility and variability to this game, but the core system of the game is understanding how the invaders work. So the first thing that's going to happen, okay, we have our invader deck here. You can see the invader deck just has, different land card types on them. Okay, as we can see on our boards, we have 2 wetlands, we have 2 sands, 2 jungles, and 2 mountains. Each of ours has the same, they're arranged a little bit differently, but we have 2 of each kind. So let's just say that, this was the top card of the deck, and we explored as the mountains. So what we would do on all of the boards in the entire game simultaneously is we would take explorers and we'd put them on the mountains. Great. We'd shift over, and the next thing that the invaders would do is that they would build. So they would add towns to the board. Well, invaders are actually going to do everything here. So after they build in the mountains, they will also explore the jungles. Great, so this would be how the board would look. Okay, and all these things would shift. So then the next turn, they would start by ravaging in all of the mountains. Okay, right now that means that they would take some blight. Then they would build in all of the build towns in all of these jungles. And then they would also explore the wetlands. So as we can see, these guys are going to be doing a lot every single turn. I mean, affecting 6 out of the 8 spots on the island every single turn. There's a lot going on, and the invaders are going to be a lot stronger than us in the early game, and so it's our challenge to try and find a way to survive that early game, scale up, grow in strength, and then to ultimately overcome. So how we're going to do that, we can do damage, we can attack them, we might use defensive tactics, but either way, let's learn a little bit more about these invaders. So we have 3 types of invaders. We have the explorer, the town, and the city, and the numbers you can keep track with them is just 1, 2, 3. The explorers, they have 1 health, and when they attack, they do 1 damage. Okay. The towns, they have 2 health, and they do 2 damage. And then the cities, 3 health and 3 damage, right? So 1, 2, 3, really consistent across all of them. So maybe I have a card that says, maybe all 3 of these are in a land, and I have a card that says, deal 2 damage. Okay, I could probably just pick off the town. Maybe I have a card that says deal 4 damage. You could do 3 to 1 and then kill this off. Maybe for some reason, maybe like I have a 4 damage card and you have a 1 damage card, I might choose to do 3 damage here and then deal a little damage to that guy. We can kind of knock him over, and you'll come in and do 1 damage and finish it off, right? That could be a little bit of teamwork that we could use in order to solve a bigger problem. Similarly, when we're defending, it basically reduces the amount of damage being dealt on the land. So when it comes time to ravage, we're going to take a look at everything that's there, simply add it up, and whatever that number is, that is how much damage is being dealt. So in this situation, 6 damage would be dealt. The key number for ravaging is 2. If 2 damage is dealt, you will add a blight. Okay, it does not matter how much more. You could have 57 damage dealt in the land, you will just get 1 blight. So a little strategy in this game might be just, if it's too big of a problem, just let it go, because it's just a blight. You could put all this work in and kill everything, and then have just 2 little explorers left behind, and it's still a blight. No matter how hard you tried. So that's one of the tricky things, is knowing when to cut your losses in this game. But yeah, so 2 damage is all it takes to add a single blight, and damage will reduce that. So if we had this setup, okay, 3, 2, 1, and 1 for a total of 7. Let's say I had a card that said defend for 6. That means that there would be a net 1 would pass through, which means that no blight is dealt because, you know, 1 is less than 2. So we would be A-okay in that land. So that is a way that you could go about doing a strategy. Now, where do these Dahan come in? Well, the Dahan, if we protect them, they will fight on our behalf. So let's say that this was now the setup. Okay? And so they're ravaging for 7. We have a single Dahan there. The Dahan have 2 health and they deal 2 damage. So in a way, they are equivalent and opposite to a town. And let's say we put a defend 6 on it. Okay, the ravage would happen. 1 damage would go through, so 1 damage to the land, no blight. The Dahan has 2 health, so that 1 damage would not kill the Dahan, and the Dahan would then have the opportunity afterward to fight back, and it could pick off a town for us. So that is a whole line of strategy that may exist with certain spirits, is incorporating that Dahan defend. I find that this whole line of thinking with the ravaging in the lands is the part that a lot of people get tripped up with because you're trying to remember the things. And so I try to keep it as simple as possible. Just remember 1, 2, and 3. So these are your 1s, and these are your 2s, and those are your 3s. Okay, I hope, does that kind of work to keep it straightforward? And I'll always remind you of anything in case we ever need. So that is how ravaging works. And, you know, like I said, blight is the way that you're probably going to lose the game if we get there. So understanding...
So we can't get rid of blight, from what I understand.
It is hard to get rid of blight once it's on the island, but it's possible. It's just that it's not an easy or common thing to have access to.
Gotcha.
But there are some spirits in the game that's like what they're amazing at, and they can remove blight every single turn. And so when you're looking at the different spirits that you choose, that could be a strategic choice that you make, is you want to just eat a lot of blight and, you know, clean up the blight, and, you know, you can develop your game plan from there. Okay, so does the whole ravage, build, explore cycle make sense? Because that's like the fundamental core of the game. Is now that we understand what the invaders are doing, we can then use that as a framework to understand what we're going to do and how that's going to impact the rest of the game.
Yes, for sure.
All right, sweet. So move those. I have 2 sets of those cards. So
no, you're good.
This is preset for the game and this is for demo. Cool. So let us set up our own boards. So we all have our own different island boards. They have different setup symbols on them. So you've got that mushroom looking one. That's going to appear 6 times. That is for those Dahan. And then there should be 1 city, which will have the 3 points on it. And that will be in land number 2. And then you should have 1 town, which is your number 8. And your number 6 has a town symbol on it.
And what's this little...
And that kind of pillar-looking thing is everyone starts with a blight on their board.
Oh boy.
So, you know, the storyline of this game is, you know, it's like we're 1700s and we're a Pacific island just out there, and you know, this is the era of European colonialism. So we're coming into that story after, you know, a little bit has happened. Not too much, but a little bit. So they've already done a little bit of ravaging. There's already a little bit of blight. You know, they've already built a major settlement on the coast, and they've got a minor settlement inland on the island. And so that's kind of the moment in time that we're coming into this game and we are joining the party.
Fantastic.
So we can include tokens. There would be 2 starting tokens on the board, or we can just not include them. It's, you know, it's up to you.
Well, let's go ahead and throw them in.
Yeah, why not? So put 1 of these guys on land number 2.
Land number 2.
Yep. And then put the beast in the lowest numbered land without a setup symbol, which will be number 5 and number 1. Cool. So, these tokens, they will do various things. There are 5 of them. And they each have their own little niche. So on our boards, on land number 2, we have these yellow ones. They are called the disease. And basically, it says next time that you would build in this land, don't. And then consume the piece.
Okay.
Okay, so like I was saying before, there's like that future payoff. So there are some spirits in the game that are really good at adding disease, and their whole strategy is like, well, if the invaders never build, they can never get stronger, and that's my mechanism by which I win the game, right? That's how I slow them down. So
yeah,
everyone just happens to start with a disease in the biggest, strongest land, so that's a nice little advantage you gain. Congratulations for choosing tokens. But in the same way that these interact with the build step, you have the explore step in the same exact way. These wilds tokens, like the wilderness, it's hard for the explorers to get through. So, you know, next time that you want to explore land, just don't and consume it, right? And these strife ones, you know, like the workers are strifing and, you know, they don't want to mine the land. So next time that you would ravage, don't, but, you know, consume the piece. And then these other 2 give us an advantage. So the Badlands is every time that you would deal damage, do 1 more damage. So all of your 1 damage abilities turn into 2, or your 2s become 3s. You could stack 5 of them up in a land, and your 1 damage becomes a 6. You can get crazy with those. So, and then these last ones are beasts, and they don't do anything. These events randomly in the event deck, it'll be like beasts attack and, you know, beasts kill invaders, but then you might take a few turns before that comes up. There are some spirits in the game that put tons of beasts out there and they can use the beast to their advantage. Those are a little bit more complex spirits, not great for learning with. I love the beast spirits that do exist. If you know you really want to start digging into this game, there's a few really cool ones, but for our purposes, beasts are probably not going to do a heck of a lot, but having a few beasts around the board might randomly give you a big advantage.
It's nice to have beasts on the... I mean, why else defend the place if there's nothing to live?
Right? So I'm going to keep these tokens off to the side. We're not inherently going to need to use them, but, you know, if we happen to, we'll have access to them.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so we are going to be playing as spirits, and the way that we're going to primarily interact with the game is with cards. Okay, so I'm just going to pull off a few random cards to use them for teaching purposes. So I'm going to hope that these next 5 get all my bases covered, and yeah, we'll go with that. And if there's something I need, we'll continue from there. So here's just a random smattering of cards, not curated. So each of these cards, what are we looking at here? In the upper left-hand corner is the cost that you have to pay to play the card. So some of these cost 0, some of these cost 1. Every card in the minor power deck is either a 0 or a 1. Every card in the major power deck is from 2 to 9.
Okay.
So these are much more expensive. They're quite a bit more powerful, but we'll get into those later. These minor powers are kind of your bread and butter, a lot of 0s and 1s. So just so you know, you can kind of plan your economy. So cool, we have a cost there in the corner. And along the side, we have various elements. There's a little bit of a set collection element to this game, but we'll come back to that in a minute. The first thing I want to draw our attention to, though, is this spot right here in the middle. 3 key pieces of information. Okay, first off is the speed. There are 2 phases that you can play cards, and you can only play a card in the matching phase. There's the fast phase and the slow phase. The fast phase is the red in the corner. They also have a bird right here in the speed section. And the slow phase has blue in the corner and has a turtle in the corner. So you can only play a fast card in the fast phase and a slow card in the slow phase. The fast phase comes before the invaders, and the slow phase is after the invaders. Okay, next is the range. So if we take a look at the colors that we selected, these are our presence tokens, and this is where we physically exist on the island. So if we were to just take a piece and let's just say that that's my presence right there. In the land that I'm in, that would be range 0 from myself, right? It takes 0 steps to get there. All of these adjacent lands would be range 1. Okay, these two would be range 2, and this one in the corner would be range 3 away.
Okay.
So we can take that line of thinking and apply it here. So this card is a range 0, that one's a range 1, a range 2. You know, 0s and 1s are going to be your most common. You know, a couple of range 2s. There are some range 3s, but I can only think of like 1 or 2 offhand. But 1s and 0s are going to be your most common. So you need to be close enough to the land that you want to interact with. But also, you need to understand that the entire text of the card affects that one single land. Everything you do is in that one spot. There, you know, it can be easy to think like, oh, I'll do this in like every single adjacent land. Well, no, you got to pick one. You just got to do it in that one spot. Okay. Some of these, like these two cards here, will have this symbol, and that is a sacred site symbol. So that means not only do you have to be within range with your presence, you have to be in range with double presence. So if you had a situation like this, right, where I have a sacred site, okay, double presence, we call that a sacred site, in this land, I could then use this card range 1 from a sacred site. So I could use here or anywhere that's adjacent to where my sacred site is, but I could not use it over here. Even though I have a presence in that corner, it's not a sacred site, so I cannot use it. Okay, if it specifies that it requires a sacred site as the source. Okay, and then the last detail in this line is the target land. So we were just talking about the source of the effect, but the land that it goes into might also have some requirement. Most cards in the game say any, okay, and they're completely unrestricted. But there are some cards in the game that have a restriction. So this guy here says that the target land must have a Dahan in it. Okay, this one says that the target land is not allowed to have a blight. And this one here must target a land that either has a town or a city in it. Okay, so it's only explorers, and you know it's not going to fly. Okay, so that's just kind of the stipulations and the restrictions to playing the card. But if you meet those requirements, that's totally fine. And one of the interesting things is you don't actually have to decide where you're going to use this card, or even if you're going to use the card, until it's time to actually use it. So sometimes, like with slow powers, they happen after the invaders do their thing. You might play them on a little bit of a gamble. You're like, yeah, I think I might be able to use this, and just throw the card out there just in case you happen to get a chance to use it down the line. And maybe you can't, and so you just don't play it, and that's fine. Unfortunately, even if you don't play it, you still have to pay the costs. So
so you pay for all of the cards.
Yeah, you pay for all of it no matter what every time. And so even if it's bad, sometimes it's better than nothing.
Okay.
So every card has different text on them. But one thing that we were looking at before is these elements that are on the side. And this is where there's a little bit of like a set collection element to this game. So, you know, you're going to, like I'm going to play, this, and this as the 3 cards for my turn. Well, some cards in the game have an elemental threshold. We don't need that till the end of the game. That's just cleanup. Okay. So this card right here, it has card text, but then it says if you have 3 of these red animal elements, you also gain access to this bottom part. So if these were the 3 cards that you played, we have 3 of those animal elements, so we do gain access to it, which will just give you 1 additional damage. Now, this card also has an elemental threshold, looking for 3 moons. However, we do not have 3 moons, so we do not get it.
Okay.
On this card here, it says if the target land, and that symbol is an either or, so it's either a jungles or a wetlands. Doesn't have to be like a jungles that is next to a wetlands.
Okay.
Which I guess all of ours would qualify, but for all of our jungles. But you know, if there was a situation that didn't exist, right? But it's either a jungle or a wetlands, then 1 fear and 1 damage. Okay, so then if we had these, it would be an additional 1 damage on top of that. What's kind of cool, right, is normally this card would do nothing if you targeted a sands, but you know, like we said, maybe you just play a card that's slightly worse, and you just do 1 damage in the sands as opposed to 2 damage in a jungle wetlands, right? You can kind of find these ways to, you know, get blood from a stone, as they say. So this card here gives you defend 5 in the target land. So as we were talking about before with defense, being able to, you know, mitigate the effects of a ravage, right? This is one of those cards that will do it for you. And that's where I like to use the dice, because it has numbers on it. So you could just be like, put a 5 out there and now we know. Okay, so is all that so far so good? So this card here is a gather or a push. And this is basically 2 sides of the exact same coin. So I'm just gonna mess around with your board for a sec. So let's just say I was targeting, it moves explorers, so I'm just gonna do this. So let's just say I was targeting this land here. If I were to gather, that means I bring something in to the target land, so I could move a guy into the target land. Or if I'm pushing, I would move out of the target land. And when you gather, you can come in from any direction, and when you push, you can go any direction.
Okay.
Let's just say that this card said push 2 explorers, and we were like this, and we want to push 2. We could move them into 2 different directions, or we could bring them together, right? We have flexibility. And then in the exact same but opposite manner, if we were to gather 2, they could come from 2 different sources or both from the same source. Cool. So we all with it. There's a lot of little mechanics in the game, and I find sometimes the best thing to do is just to go, you know. And if a mechanic never shows up, then we don't need to worry about it, right?
There's that.
So as I was saying before, the minor powers is really going to be your bread and butter, and you're going to be doing a lot of minor powers. They all cost 0/1 energy. But the major powers is like the real big chunks of the game. And so every single major power in the game has an elemental threshold. Every single one does.
Okay.
So, you know, you can take a look at these. Like, this is a really straightforward one because it just gives you, it like doubles your damage, right? So it's a pretty clear benefit to why you'd want to play this card with the threshold. So these other ones will give you other, like, less clearly like they're all beneficial, but like it might be less obvious just at a first glance.
So when there's no range.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're good. That's
it just never showed up in any of those cards that we picked. If some cards affect, instead of targeting the board, you target a player. And so you, I might be like, hey, I'm going to give you some bonus. I'm going to give you some benefit that, and so instead of doing anything on your board, you know, you might become stronger in some capacity. And this one allows, like I would say, like, hey, you've got some destroyed presence that got removed from the island. You can take them back now, and you can put them back on the land, and you get to destroy some stuff in the process of doing so. So, you know, it's a really nice effect, but it targets a specific person. So all of these cards are quite a bit more expensive. But in addition, when you gain one of these, you have to permanently get rid of one of your other cards. Yeah. So it's a significant cost to taking on a major.
Trashing. And
it can, you know, it can be a little bit of a trap where you just start gaining major after major after major, and if you don't get exactly what you need, you never really make any forward progress because your hand doesn't get any bigger.
Now, is your energy pool set, or is that something that you control as in you collect energy?
Yes, there will be an income, and that perfectly segues into the next part where we're going to pick our spirits.
Perfect.
So,
it's going to be based off of as you develop.
Yep, every spirit is different. So I was going to kind of cater this part to your thing. So here is 7 spirits that I've
super easy
selected for you.
Easy enough.
So they are all low complexity spirits, and they all play wildly differently from each other. So on the backside, you can kind of see they have a summary of powers of, they have more offense, more control, fear, defense, utility. So they all have different themes. So you can decide for yourself whichever one you want to play for, play style reasons or thematic reasons. But I'll kind of give you a quick once over. Here you have 3 attackers. You've got Lightning, Swift Strike. You have Rising Heat, Stone and Sand, and Devouring, Teeth, Lurk, Underfoot. So if you want to play an offensive person who can be doing just a lot of attacking and aggression, those are your 3 choices for that. If you want control, kind of pushing things around the board and grouping things up or moving the invaders away from certain places, 2 good ones. We've got River Surges and Sunlight. You're playing as like the water flowing around like a river. And then you've got Sunbright Whirlwind, who's more of a wind aesthetic. And then we have Defense. If you want to play much more defensive and you want to use the Dahan and be very protecting, Eyes Watch from the Trees is good for that. And then if you kind of want just a little bit of everything, not really dominant in any one thing, but just kind of has a whole grab bag of tools, that would be Fathomless, Mud of the Swamp. You can see he's got a pretty flat summary of powers.
Does he get rid of the blight?
I don't think any of these get rid of blight.
He just looks blightish.
He is the blight. So yeah, I mean, I think all of these guys are great.
I just like how he looks, and his name is great.
Fantastic. Devouring Teeth. I love that spirit. And one of the cool things that even though these are like low complexity, like we were talking before about the different adversaries, I've beaten every adversary in the game at max difficulty with this guy. So like when you get a hold of him, like even though he's like low complexity and like easier to play, like
that doesn't mean his power
crushes.
is less. It's just much more like how they operate with the board state.
You can't just like defeat yourself. Like some of the more complex spirits, like if you do a thing wrong, like you just kind of lose because you just screwed up. And none of these guys destroy themselves. Yeah. So that's why I really like them for new players. And do you have a preference for what kind of spirit or play style that you may choose?
I'll do the shiny cat.
The cat, the Sunbright Whirlwind. All right, I'll do the grab bag because he's goofy.
Looks goofy.
Okay, so every spirit has their own unique set of starting cards, so I'll just grab those for you.
Okay. That's the starting cards.
That's just your starting hand.
Okay, and then I'm assuming this flips over. We're going to use
yes, but you're going to keep it face down because there is your unique setup on it, so it'll tell you where to put your starting presents.
Gotcha.
So you can do that now if you'd like.
Okay. When it shows the swirly symbol, I'm assuming that's a disc.
Yeah, that's presents, yep.
Okay. Land number 5.
Yep, and then... So yeah, you've got a different kind of setup. I believe yours is 2 in the low mountain, 1 on the high sands.
She puts 3 on the starting board, 1 on the highest numbered sands and 2 on the lowest numbered mountain. So you put 2 here and 1 here. So you've already got a secret site.
Oh man. Of course I picked the guy whose cards were all the way at the bottom.
Where are they? Did I lose them?
Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, good. And if you need more dice, I've got a whole thing, same container, but D6s. So
sweet
stuff for that.
Yeah. I think she has no defense, and we both have only 1 defend card in our starting set of cards. So, we can both just hold on to like 1 die, and that should cover us because, defend only lasts till the end of turn.
Yeah. Not a lot of defense, yeah.
Cool. And then I start with 2 in the low wetland. Oh yeah, I picked the perfect board for myself right in the middle. Look at that.
There you go.
It's like
That's pretty nice.
Cheating.
Now, your starting setup allows you to have blight or your presence in the same land as blight. But
That's
when
correct.
a blight hits, that gets rid of your presence. Yes.
That is also correct.
Just one disc or both?
Just 1.
Just 1, okay.
For each player. So if all of us are in the same land that blights, we all lose a presence.
That's right.
Wait, the same.
If we were all in, so if all of our presents were in your island in here, because our islands are all going to connect together in one board state. Let's say they're connected.
Oh, when does that happen?
Really whenever we want, but that's kind of, I find that it is less intimidating for us to just kind of have our own setup and you kind of focus on your own thing and then we join up and go.
Squish them together.
Yeah. On this, it has a play style section, so it just kind of gives you a sense of what your goals and, you know, kind of like your method, your approach to winning will be.
Got it.
So yeah, you could choose to read that if you want to, or you could just ride the lightning. But whenever you're ready, feel free to flip over to the front side.
Nice. I'm assuming we put presence tokens.
Yep, and you can put presence tokens on everything except for the first in each row.
So this and this?
Yep. And so there should be a total of 13. I think the blue came with 14. Can't remember. Just like, because actually all three of ours came in 3 different printings of expansions.
Oh, geez.
So I remember one of my sets came with extra in all of them. And it looks like your purple came with extra as well. So yeah, you that 14th one, pretend doesn't exist. It goes in the bag, it's destroyed, it's gone, you can never get it.
Dang it.
It looks like you have a printed card, in essence.
Yes, you do.
It always
yeah.
works.
All right, so if we take a look at our spirit panels, this is where it gets a little trickier to teach because everyone is completely unique.
Yeah.
So I'll try and go as generic as possible. But literally every single thing is going to be different for every single player. And that's the cool thing, right? Is it's not even remotely close to how these spirits are. Like, it's ridiculous.
As long as we understand which each section does and iconography, we'll fly.
Yeah.
So what is growth? I'm assuming that's a level up mechanic?
I'm actually going to hijack the conversation and I'm going to say, well, so we were talking about energy and how you gain energy.
Mm-hmm.
Every single turn, you're going to get an income, and your top track of your 2 presence tracks is your energy per turn.
Okay.
So you start with 2, and we both start with 1. And you can take a look. They have little printings underneath, or you could just kind of move the presence and peek underneath.
Okay, cool. They give you symbols too.
They, you top out at 7, she tops out at 6, and I top out at 5. So among us, if you choose to go for more energy, you have the access to most energy out of all of us, and I have access to the least. And your bottom track is your upper limit of how many cards you're allowed to play every turn. You're not required to play any cards if you don't want to. You can play less, right? But it's an upper limit. And so you, actually all of us start with 1 card. I top out at 4, and she gets 5. So... you know, just that's different ways you can balance. Some of the spirits top out at 6, some of them top out at 3. I think is the upper and lower that currently exists. As far as energy, the lowest I can think of is 2, and the highest is 12. So like a wild range of spirits.
That is a wild range.
Currently there's 20, I have 29 spirits right now, and there's another 8 coming in the fall. So, you know, tons of room for like really cool iterative design.
That's what I love about that. Lots of characters. 32 currently. So
that's awesome.
I like that. That's tons of asymmetry less to pick from.
Mm-hmm. So how do we go about removing presence from our tracks and, you know, gaining access to more? And that is going to be your growth. The first thing we're going to do every single turn is grow. So all of us have 3 choices for growth. And I'm going to start with the middle one.
Okay.
So yours says add a presence at range 1. So from where your presence is, you can go right there at range 0 or adjacent. Okay, and in addition, gain a power card. Okay.
And that would be the minor powers.
You get to choose.
Oh, so I can trash one and get a major or a minor.
That's right, yep. And then similarly, you have your third one also is add a presence and gain a card. You're a little different though. You have range 4. So you can zip across the map really fast, whereas you're going to be a lot more localized. Okay, you guys both also have a growth option that adds a presence, and it gives you a steroid of energy. So you have a little more range here, but less energy than she does. She has range 1 plus 4, range 2 plus 3. So similar, right, but a little bit different. And then your first option for both you guys is to reclaim. So like every card game, there's 3 basic spots that your cards can exist: in hand, in play, in the discard. There is no deck in this game, so that would be like the natural 4th place. But in this game, there's hand, play, and discard. The only way to get cards from your discard pile back to your hand is by reclaiming. And so that would just be choose that growth option, and you would reclaim
all of your cards. Not one single card, you get all of them back.
But you could do that at any time. So you wanted to repeat one, you'd have to reclaim and then get that back to play it.
That's correct. So you can reclaim and add a presence, whereas she can reclaim, also gain a card, and also gain an energy. You get all of that. So your reclaim is, that's one effect is the same, but it really plays out in different ways, such that, if your goal is to get as much presence on the board as you can, you're free to reclaim. In fact, all of your choices add a presence.
Yeah.
And, whereas she, doesn't want to reclaim a lot, because if she does that, she's not getting more presence, which means she's not getting stronger. So it can be a little bit tricky to try and, kind of push your luck almost a little bit, where you're trying to do just a little bit more before you have to do that reclaim. So, just a little difference between the spirits. Great. Now, if we jump to the bottom center, it's your innate power. And this is a big part of like the flavor of your spirit. And this is an ability that is unique to you that you only have access to if you meet the elemental thresholds. So we were talking before about the different cards. We'll give you, no elements. That was lucky. It's like it's literally the only one in the whole deck. It's only one, and I pulled it. So this, this card has elements on it. Now we can take a look, and you might not want this card because you want suns and winds, and this has neither. You want fire, animal, and earth, and this has none of those. Well, I want moon, water, and earth, and this has moon and water. So this is actually a good card for me. Now, maybe you still take the card. Do you like the effect?
Yeah.
But it's doubly good for me because it gives me the ability to use my innate in addition to, the text on the card. And so that's...
This is technically like one card with many options. I'm assuming if you match these symbols, are they cumulative or you can only do
cumulative. So you do it and you execute it from top to bottom. For you, it's pretty simple. It's deal a damage, then deal 2 damage, then deal 4 damage, right? So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. Whereas for you, you've got a little bit more going on. So you get to push a single explorer, and then if you also have this, you also get to push. It can be explorers or towns.
That many. Okay.
Yep.
And it would be
you get everything.
Meaning you'd have to have a total of 3 to activate both.
Yes, she would have to have 2 suns and 3 wind would give you both, because
So this is it's a threshold. So you hit this threshold, then that one, then that one.
Got it.
So it's not, you don't have to add these.
Yeah, you don't need a total of like 14 wind.
Just making sure that I understand that.
That's hard.
That would.
I don't know if you can do that. It would be interesting.
I've never seen that. Hitting like 5 is hard. So, so you guys both top out at 5. It's really, really hard to get there. And of course, you get a really strong effect when you do get there.
Yeah.
And you get a nice payoff. So you can see that you got push powers. And if you get far enough, everything that you push gets to deal a damage in a land. So as you get to the top end, you start to get access to damage. In your lower end, you have pushing and control, but you don't have any of that. No, so your play styles are going to be different. You're going to be less aggressive early. You're going to be kind of manipulating the board and shifting things around.
Get it done.
And yeah, whereas you're just going to be hammering down and trying to destroy things.
I just want to eat everybody.
He looks a little hungry.
So all of our spirits also have 3 elements on our tracks. So if you take a look on both your top and bottom tracks, you will have elements that are useful to you. So you've got a sun, an air, you've got an air right there, and another sun there. So whether you choose to invest into top track or bottom track, and of course you can always go blended, you can do as you see fit.
I'm assuming you have to take discs off from
left to right.
Left to right. You can't just pick them.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that.
That's good.
But this will give you assistance, right? So with your free air, that'll help you hit that higher level. So each card can only ever give you 1 element, right? So you can actually hit your top level innate at 4 card plays, even though it takes 5 wind, because you get a free wind, right? And then similarly for you, you have a pretty big gap between your second and your third card, but you get 2 free elements, so that'll help you hit your 3 and 3 tier. Even without that third card play.
Perfect. And then the special rule is just applying to cards you play.
Yep, so we all have a special rule as well, and that will just have some kind of an effect that's unique to you. Yours is everything that deals damage deals 1 more damage. So your power here says, deal 1 damage. Well, it'll actually deal 2 because you have your special bonus +1.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to note that the entire ability is 1 power. So you top out at 8 damage. 1 + 2 + 4 + 1 for a total of 8. Now, your special rule is really interesting. Every time that you add a presence to the board during growth, you get to get a free push of either an Explorer or a Dahan. So a really interesting way that can be effective. Let's say that you had a wetlands here that was about to build, and you put your presence there and you pushed it out. So now the build phase comes over. If there's nothing there, nothing builds. When it comes time to ravage, there's nothing there, so nothing ravage. So you do literally nothing.
So you have to have a soldier in an area in order to build.
Yep. If there's no one there, there's no builders. So yeah, that little effect is insanely powerful because you can break up the entire chain of custody just by growing. You don't even have to play a card. So
you'll know about it because the cards come out and you see them before.
Right.
Yeah, so that's super powerful. So yeah, that kind of covers all the different bases with all of our spirits. Do you guys have any questions before we get into it?
No, I'm assuming that we put the boards together. Do we grow first and then go through their stuff, or this is the setup and then we?
This is basically the setup.
And this was your initial growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here, let's just get into it. Let's just put up the boards any way you want. You can make a nice circle. You can make something funky. As long as, this is the ocean. I should have mentioned this is the ocean, and adjacent to the ocean is the coast. But yeah, you'll also notice it has a different edge and doesn't match. So you can't even cheat. The game will start with an initial explorer. We will start by adding an explorer to all of our boards. It's generally considered good manners that you just take care of your own board and you don't worry about moving pieces on someone else's board. So your mountains are going to be there and there, and you just add an explorer to both of them, and the game starts. So we now can all choose different growth options, and all play is simultaneous. So really, whenever we're all ready, we continue to the next phase of the game.
Okay.
Little things, we have these tokens that we haven't mentioned. They serve no purpose. They're just given to you as a physical reminder if you just want to be like, hey man, I got that land covered, or whatever, just a reminder.
Device, in essence.
You could use it as a reminder for okay, I reclaimed, I did this, and then cover up as you do things. Maybe you want to make sure that you don't cheat and use your innate twice in a turn. You put a chip, whatever. You can do whatever you want with it.
Okay.
But yeah, we are right into it. Let's see.
So the thing is, we're going to grow, use fast powers, and then they're going to do their stuff. Mm-hmm. Are they going to do all of that, or it just goes? We just did an initial explorer for the setup.
Yep, and it goes from left to right.
Okay, so then they're going to build, then explore.
Build, then explore.
Then ravage, build, explore.
Yep.
Okay, and then we continue to do 3, or does it reset it around?
No, it just continues at 3 for the rest of the game.
Oh wow, so it ramps up right.
It scales up pretty quick, and it rides that same level the whole rest of the game.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot of different things that we can do to modular the game. When it comes to gaining cards, normally you draw 4 and pick 1. But I also have these decks where you can just draw off the top of the deck. Would you prefer to use this?
I'll take randomly because I like to experience things through that.
Okay. And do you want to use the pre-selected deck of cards, or do you want to draw 4, pick 1? It makes no difference. It's just a matter of what you're comfortable with.
Pre-selected just gives you a pathway.
Alright, we'll do that.
Or
you want to use that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll pick out yours. It's kind of curated for your spirit. Okay, so this is...
So you're gonna have to... It gives you a little less to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite so wild. Because that's a rather large deck. About 100 cards, did you say?
Yep, it's 100 cards.
Oh, that's right.
So whenever you gain a card, instead just draw the top card of the deck.
Okay.
There are a couple mages in there, and you will be forced to take the major, and you will have to lose another card. If we manage to make it to the whole deck, we'll just go back to doing this.
Gotcha.
Cool.
If you would like a little bit more of a challenge on your board, you can just put an additional town on land number 3. So I'm going to take the challenge. I'm just going to do that to make my board just a little harder. If you want to make your starting setup a little harder, feel free to put a town on land number 3. If not, don't worry about it.
I think I'll sit still and watch the game evolve.
All right, sweet.
I feel like it's definitely going to feel overwhelming right off the bat.
Yeah, it can be a bit much. Yeah, anyways, without any further ado, there's a lot of things I didn't explain, and well, I feel like it's best to just kind of just go. Just start.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will answer any questions you will have. Right? So I might kind of nudge, but I'm definitely not going to play this game for you. I think the joy of board gaming is, the joy of discovery.
Thank you for watching so much of the video. We're going to take a small little intermission right now. Basically, I finished doing the teach, and after this intermission ends, it's going to be gameplay. Because of the positioning of the camera, you can't see any of the cards that are going to be played. You're just going to see pieces moving around on the island, and you're going to hear a lot of table talk, but you're not going to see the cards that are gained or the cards that are played or anything like that. So I know a lot of the joy of watching Spirit Island videos is observing that decision-making process, and I will tell you right now, you're not going to be able to see that. So if that table talk is something that you find interesting or useful to you, you can watch the rest of the video, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know this is a long video. There's probably like another hour left in this thing. But really the meat and potatoes of the purpose of this video has now been covered. So I want to take a minute to just do a little bit of review for the teach that just happened and take some notes away from it. So the first thing is at the beginning of the video, I said you want to choose the right person to teach this game to, because it is so hard, it is so challenging. And the way that this game wound up happening is actually kind of funny. I was invited to join a board game group in my hometown, and the day that I joined the Discord, this guy posted that he wanted to learn how to play Spirit Islands. And I was like, well, here we go, I'll teach you. So this was really our first day spending time together. So it was a couple, husband and wife. It was the husband who put out the thing, but it doesn't really matter. They're both very active board gamers. They own tons of board games. They have just a good board game vocabulary, and so it was a pretty easy teach for that reason. But I just think it's funny that that's one of the rules that I set that I immediately broke. But anyways, they were very excited for this game, and so they had already watched a bunch of videos. I think Shut Up and Sit Down has a video on how to play this game, and so they watched that video, and I think it's a good thing. I'm going to put a link in this description. There's a video that's like 8 minutes long that covers the bare bones basics of how to play the game, and I actually like to send that off to people before I teach them, because it primes a lot of thinking. Even if they don't learn the whole game from this video, it gives them some of the vocabulary, and it helps to frame the game a little bit, so that way when I do go through the full teach, they aren't coming from a completely blank slate. One of the things I did over the course of this teach is I kind of sold the game. Sometimes you play a spirit and you just don't like their playstyle at all, and it would be horrible to lose out on a potential player because they played like Shadows Flicker Like Flames and they just couldn't get over that awkward opening. So over the course of that teach, I was doing a low-key advertising to the width and depth of this game. Width being, you could choose different spirits, right? That's lateral movement. Whereas depth is going to higher levels of difficulty. So I kind of primed a few things, hey, there's spirits that kind of have this play style or whatever. And then I was like, oh, at higher level, more challenging games, these kinds of things might happen. So it just kind of primes a little bit of thinking. Spirit Island's a bit of a lifestyle game where it can be like the one game that you play and you spend a lot of time on it. Because it's so wide and so deep, there's so much game to be had. You might not like the very first Spirit that you play, but you might like the second, third, and fourth Spirit that you play. And that's great, and that's awesome. So next, I could have done a better job playing a sample turn and bringing all the elements together. This is something that I could have done a little bit better, is, kind of mock through an entire turn from beginning to end. I was caught a few times where they asked a question like, oh wait, how does this work? I don't understand the ordering. I don't understand the timing. Like with paying for all your powers during the spirit phase, but then resolving them later on in the turn. That can be very unintuitive because I don't really know any other games that work like that. So definitely that's something I should have done, is just kind of mock out a basic turn, do a basic growth, pick random cards, and then just kind of move a few things around just so we understand the game flow. But at least that's not a big deal because all the individual elements are known. When we play the game, I'm going to dictate all the different steps of the turn, and then after one turn, you get it. And, it's smooth from turn 2 on, but I could have done a better job during the teach. But on the other side, something I think is very good is give players options on how they want to play. Spirit Islands is a very sandboxy game. It has a ton of different levers that you can pull, and don't worry about like the purity of the game or something. Don't worry about, some people using power progression, some people not doing power progression. The husband chose to just do drafting like a normal game, and the wife chose to do power progression. There's nothing wrong with that. The point is that you learn the game and you enjoy the game. It's not, there's no point in trying to get anything like pure and perfect the first time around. It's about comfort. Another thing is I offered people the chance to increase the difficulty by putting a town on land number 3, which would give you the Prussia 1 setup. But, they chose not to, and that's fine. They took the Prussia 0. But, if you're playing with someone that's, maybe they're a little cocky, or maybe they just want to be better, and they're like, yeah, I can take the challenge, I'm so freaking awesome. And great, give them the opportunity to do a Prussia 1. When I do get into the game, I always have the Prussia escalation hit when we hit stage 2, and I make a big reveal as like, hey, guess what? There's an adversary, and and that kind of gets into the previous point as to like selling the depth of the game, because that's an opportunity to be like, there's 8 different adversaries in the game, and they all push difficulty in different directions, but this is the one that we're doing this time, and just leave it at that. Don't really focus on the details of others. Just be like, they are different, like at all. After the game ends, you can start to like talk about the difference between Sweden and England and France. But as far as the actual gameplay goes, just be like, Prussia, add a town, life goes on. But yeah, giving people that option for that difficulty is perfectly fine. I always give myself the extra town because I get bored otherwise. I did create some power progression decks, and I'm going to put all the power progression decks in the description of this video. But when you buy Horizons, it comes with the full set of all the base game cards, and there's just enough to put together 7 power progression decks. So I have the 5 that came in Horizons, plus River, plus Lightning. Because River and Lightning are the 2 original spirits that are like, understandable by new players. Like they have like a clear game plan. I find that Shadows, it makes no sense at all. And then Earth is too easy to screw up. And it can create this, like this noob trap loop where every single turn you reclaim the skip card. And they spend the whole game just skipping actions, but like never actually do anything to win, because all they're doing is skipping actions because they're so scared of taking blight, not properly optimizing their defend 3, all kinds of little things that new players aren't going to know. So that's why I don't like when new people play Earth either. But the problem is when you do the River and the Lightning is that their power progression decks have some overlap. So I did a little bit of reworking, completely untested. It's just kind of a swing in the dark. But I'm going to put those lists up and so you can see those. anyways, altogether, it's important to start the game as fast as you can and not worry so much about the rules thoroughness. As you saw over the course of the teach, I would talk for a little bit, and then we would do some kind of thing that would get us incrementally closer to starting the game. Then I would teach a little bit, and then we get incrementally closer to starting the game. So, we started by having our islands out, and kind of did a little bit with there, and then I did a bunch of teaching. And then we put all of our pieces, the initial setup on the board. Great. And then we did a little bit more teaching. And then we grabbed our spirits, and we set up our spirits. And then we did a little bit more teaching. And then we drew the first card of the game. And then I did a little bit more teaching. And then, intermission, and then the game's going to go after this, right? But if you do all talking, and then at the very end you do a full setup beginning to end, it can be hard for players to, take all these concepts and apply them to the game. That visual component, I think, is very important. Visual learning is a big deal. It's a visual game. It's a visual experience. It's not all just going to be rules and words floating in your head when you play this game. So anyways, that's my notes. Like I said, after this, it's just going to be me kind of maintaining guardrails, making sure that, we don't have any horribly broken rules. I do the Prussia escalation. After about an hour or so, my phone actually ran out of memory, and so the recording doesn't even go all the way to the end of the game. But if you choose to watch it, I'm not going to give any spoilers for how the game actually ends. I'm going to have a little chit-chat like this at the end to explain how the game finished. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're signing off now, thank you for your time, and I hope you are able to feel more comfortable and confident teaching this game to more people. Cheers.
Yep. So you're gonna choose take 4 of them, and then keep any one that you want.
Yeah,
you happen to pick a card that's good for you,
that's
but
what I thought.
you might not want it. So, yep. And things to consider.
Play one card.
I think it's oftentimes if you're kind of stuck between cards, just choose the one that has good elements. The elements really match like the theme of the cards, and so the elements will match your play style, anyways.
Okay, so remind me the cost again. It's up in the top corner of the card.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and so the first thing you're going to do is grow, and then after you grow, you just get energy income. So let's say you went top track, you'll gain 2 free energy, or if you go bottom track, you'll gain only 1 energy.
Okay.
And then after you do that, you will choose the cards that you want to play, and you will pay for them. So it would look a little something like, if I were to choose to do like this and this. Right, and I'll just sit there with my showing that I've paid for the card, and I'm just going to kind of wait till everyone's ready before, officially deciding.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And gaining a power card, I get to place a presence, and I choose from my board, correct?
Yep, and you can choose either the top or the bottom. Now, if you want to play 2 cards, you have to go bottom.
So I'm going to do bottom, and I can place that anywhere?
Anywhere within range 1. Yep.
Anywhere range 1 because of that. Well, that's going to build and get blood, so let's just put it there.
Okay. Great, so then you would gain 2 energy, and then I like to represent by just putting your paid energy on it.
Okay.
If you choose to change your mind, it's really easy to get your refund.
Okay.
But once we all decide, right, pay up and you're done.
Okay.
Okay, so choosing from the top.
And that would give you 2 energy after.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has to go where I have presents already.
As long as it's within range. So, would you like to gain an additional power card, or would you like to gain a ton of energy?
Let's go with a ton of energy.
All right. So you gain 4 energy by choosing that option. Okay, and then you get to take one of your presents and you can put it within range 1. So here, range 1 would cover all of this, or range 1 will cover all of this. You can't go here because that's 2 away, and then all of these boards are too far. So then I'm only going to give you a little bit of nudge just to kind of see what your spirit wants to do. But I'd say if you put it here and land number 7, that will give you the ability to move this explorer for free.
Oh, okay.
Which means that it's not a problem for the entire time that it passes through.
Okay.
Okay, you can push that any way you want. You can push it to me and make me have to deal with it, or you know, you can do whatever you want. Generally, your spirit is less good at being destructive, and so I think it would be nice if you just sent it over to me and
here, say, here you go, you deal with that.
Yeah, now it's your problem. Great. Now you're going to gain 2 energy for the turn for your income, and you're allowed to play 1 card.
Does energy carry over round to round?
Yes.
Okay. That's nice. So there's a little bit of a push on your economy.
Yeah, and so 2 of your cards will give a benefit to a teammate. 1 of your cards gives a benefit to a teammate. And you also have a card that deals 1 damage to different invaders. So that's good at killing explorers, but it's not enough to kill a town or a city. So that doesn't necessarily do much. And then your last card, I don't remember.
Push up to 5 cities.
Oh yes, into various directions. So that could be a good one.
Do that one.
And the thing about that is that it's slow. So that means you can you can move invaders that haven't even appeared on the island yet. So you don't even know where you could be dealing with cards that haven't even shown up yet. And that could be a really good way for you to get super far ahead of the game because, you know, you're dealing with problems before they even happen. So, all right, we have all chosen our cards. We can take our energy and just kind of, you know, put it, you know, whatever. Whenever I play this game, there's just piles of junk all around.
The board state is where you're focused.
Yeah. And then we will go to the fast phase. So I have no fast powers, and she doesn't have any fast powers, but you have 2 of them. So you get to act now, and once you're done, we'll move on to the next step.
It doesn't look like... I'm gonna boost you then, because she doesn't deal damage.
Okay, so I'm gonna put my chip here, saying that I've got this power now.
And then this one, for each present, and up to range 2 for my present, so I was going to choose this one.
Okay.
And that would deal 1 damage for
Yes, it would.
So that
In fact, it'll do a +1 damage, so...
Yeah, it'll do 2.
It'll do 2. All 1 damage that's needed.
Yeah. No, that +1 doesn't involve each, because this one chooses different invaders, but this +1, only 1 damage total for the power.
Yeah, so basically it'd be like deal 1 to a bunch of things, and then deal 1 more damage.
To 1 other thing.
Yeah. So you could use it here.
Because I could choose a town and
you could kill that, and then deal damage, and then do 1 additional damage to kill the town. But if there was 2 towns there, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. That's what I figured.
Cool. So now
you guys are all slow powers. So we'll do the invaders.
We'll go to the invader phase. So now we will go to the build step. So the logic in this game is that you, if there are more towns than there are cities, you build a city. Okay, so there's 1 to 0, so I get a city here. But otherwise, build a town. So here it's tied 0-0, so you would get a town.
Okay. And then these guys don't have invaders, so there's nothing there building, right?
Yep, that one has nothing, so it's free and clear. That one's free and clear. And then disease gets consumed to prevent a build from happening, so that one is all set as well.
Okay.
Great. Then we will explore into the jungle. So we can add an explorer to all of the jungles. Great. And now we go to the slow phase. So if you don't have the threshold, although actually you do have 1 fire, 1 animal.
I do have that.
So you can you can move a presence.
Presence in target land. Gather 1.
And then you have 1 slow power, so you could choose to use that now.
Okay, and we're
So even though I'm, oh wait, the innate power, I get to do this. Oh, okay, gotcha.
And the land has to have invaders. So you have to move into a land with invaders.
Okay, so I can move this presence token.
You could.
There. Well, perfect. That's what I'm gonna do.
Fantastic.
Okay, as many different lands as possible.
Oh, wow.
So I can push from anywhere I have presence, right?
No, range 2 from anywhere you have presence. So you have presence here, so you have range 2 from any one of those 3 and then can target from there. And it lets you choose up to 5, but you only choose 1 target land, correct?
Correct.
And then you're pushing up to 5
from
objects
that land.
from that
Yes.
land. So you're not choosing a bunch of different lands.
Exactly.
I
can be
looked at it, I was like, that's broke.
Right? You're like, look at that. You got 1, 2,
Push
3,
them all
4,
over.
5.
Here, you
Get
can
them
have
all.
Take them all.
Now the
Can't
restriction
push
with
the
that card
city,
is that's
right?
the only piece you can't move.
The cities.
You can move these guys,
Yeah,
you
it
can move
shows here,
these
right?
guys, and you
Towns
can move
and
these
Dahan.
guys, but you can't move the cities. Cities are really sticky and they're really hard to deal with, but thanks to your ability, I'm going to kill that city right now.
I figured you would.
So I can gather 2 Dahan, so I'll gather 1. I'm going to steal yours.
That's fine.
2. And then if Dahan are present and invaders are present, they both are 1 fear. And I will get to do 1 damage plus 3, 4 damage. So I'm going to kill the city, and I'm going to leave 1 damage on this as well.
Okay.
Whenever you kill buildings, you get fear. So 2 fear for a city.
Okay. And I'm assuming 1 for a town and none for your explorers.
Exactly correct.
Okay.
And then while she's deciding, my innate I have access to lets me deal 1 damage. But I'm not going to use it yet. I'm going to use this card first, which gives me a fear and lets me push 2 explorers. So I will push that and gets me a fear. And then, because this also makes me move presence, but it breaks up a sacred site, I only move 1 out of my 2 presence. So if I did that in the opposite order, I wouldn't have the sacred site required.
You would destroy your card ability. And then these, of course, are, since you've used that, you can move that.
Fear, which will destroy this town.
Okay, question. So I have these 3 here.
Yes.
Can I move this here, and move that there?
Not
Those
there, so
aren't
this is
connected, but you can go here.
This one isn't connected to it, but yeah.
Just making sure I understood that.
But you can move all 3 of them in different ways. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's totally correct.
Why I was wondering with the card how it was working.
And then that'll be your discard.
Great. So now we can just take our cards and move them to our own respective discards.
And that's all they do because they didn't get to ravage this turn, but they will next.
Yes. And then for every turn for the rest of the game, there will be a ravage.
All 3. Okay.
And yeah, that's the first turn of the game. Now we go on to the next turn. We'll start with a growth.
With a growth? Okay.
I know, it's so growth.
Very growthy. So growthy. I'm going to do this and gain a power card.
Okay, so here we
If
go.
I do that, I add a presence within 1.
Oh, I'm assuming you want, do you want minor or do you want major?
Yeah, I'm doing minor right now. I think I'm going to build a little bit of a hand before I throw them away. Right off the bat. Let's put this one there.
And we just have to attach to wherever we have presence somewhere else.
It just gives you a range. Depends on which growth option you use. So this one lets you do presence. This one doesn't. This gives you a bunch of energy, which you've got a bunch.
And then this one.
Oh, I guess I need to just collect my income.
I'm sorry?
I can add a presence 4 away from me.
4 range, yeah. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go all the way over here, all the way over here. You have access to almost, besides this little corner, you have access to the whole board with that ability, if you so choose. Yeah, so you could knock out that explorer, but you can't knock out this one, if you choose to go that route.
Cool.
Well, I like those cards, but this one's way too good to pass.
Oh, look at that, that's perfect elements
It's
for
got
you.
Okay,
exactly.
so we
Oh yeah,
can
wow,
have-
you got great choices.
Yeah, they were all good choices. But
So we can have
especially
presence
good.
where someone else has presence too.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. Great. And by doing so, you can move
Push that
an explorer or a Dahan for free.
Remind me what the worker tokens
Okay.
do. They
Take note that
prevent,
will be building if he goes there, but if he goes somewhere else, then he
Yeah,
won't.
you're good. Remind me again what the little blue worker tokens do. They prevent what stage?
Next time that it would ravage, it does 0 damage.
Okay.
It kind of like knocks out a guy
It's
for
just
a thing.
important to this.
Okay.
Oh,
part.
totally.
It sets me up for.
If you have
not
2 people in
ravaging.
the same spot, it will
You
build
can still,
twice.
Nope,
No,
just
just
one
one.
build action. It's just the only time it really matters is for ravages.
Damage.
You have to add up the total amount of damage that exists in the land, and so that would now be 2 damage. But sands aren't active, so it's totally safe.
Nasty.
It's a good thing I have defend 5.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I gain a power card.
Yep. So just draw the top card off your deck, and then you gain your 2 energy for the turn. Your passive income looks like you did not, so now you gain your 2 energy.
This is your pass.
And you can play up to 2 cards.
And then blight removes your presence, correct?
If you take blight, it destroys your presence. That is correct.
And if they ravage, that gets a blight, unless you defend. So
Yep,
we're gonna do
that's
that.
a good plan.
I'll do that, I think.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just pay for your powers and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of iconography to keep track of. Not too much, just
Yeah.
every game.
Once you learn the language, you get it.
Mhm.
I think on the back of the rule book it explains all the iconography, but I don't know. It's a co-op
To have
game,
a- to have
so
a
like
printed
I can
paper like
explain
that,
it to you
yeah.
is easy enough. If it's like a competitive game, you're like, hey man, what's the symbol mean? I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna change my card play now.
Yeah, right. You're like,
Okay, so with this card, I would be able to do this.
You need to play
No.
any other card that has wind on it because that
Oh,
requires
that only
2
counts
winds.
as one
Oh, okay.
win,
So
unless you
maybe a
had
second
this
one.
upgrade.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just.
Right, and that's the interesting push and pull, right? What if do you play a card that you don't even want to play just for the elements?
Just for the element, just to boost
Or,
something.
you know, oof, right? It's a tricky choices.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a feel like it's not even reasonably comparable. But Race for the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
multi-use cards, Carl Chudik's games, multi-use cards. What do you want to use it for?
Let's do the 1, 2. So that would give me that push.
Great. Yeah, and that one's going to cost you an energy, so as long as you pay up, and if that's what you want to play, then we can go on to the fast phase.
Okay, so fast phase. And I'm assuming we can choose whatever order.
Yeah, all
That
play
goes
is
in.
simultaneous, but sometimes you want to do things in the right order.
Yeah.
So it could be like, you know, this card that, you know, does damage based on Dahan. Well, what if she plays a card that moves Dahan fast? So you're like, you go first, and then I'll go second.
I'll be
so
a little
she
bit
could move all
slower
of Dahan.
fast. And
I'll put the Han in one
Fast
spot.
minus.
Can you just send those guys over to me so I can eat them?
Yeah, totally.
I'm assuming a defend stays on the board to defend during their action, right?
Correct.
We're defending in advance of their attack.
Yep. So yeah,
Um,
all defend cards are fast. It would be really bad if it was after the attack.
That would be. That's what I was thinking. So I get 2 fear with invaders present. I'm defending this mountain area here, right here.
Okay, we'll stick a little 9 right there.
And then I can push up to 2 Dahan, but I don't have any Dahan there, so.
Okay. And great. I also have a fast defend power. Mine only gets 1 fear and 5 defend, so it's not nearly as cool. But I do get to keep the Dahan around, so
Nice.
that is that's nice. And you have some fast cards as well.
Yeah, I do have target spirit may make 1 power, which says push or pull for this.
Push or gather.
Push or other, sorry.
Make
Pull
1
works.
power.
Yep, so you can use that on any spirit. So you have a push power with your innate, right? You could use that slow power fast. You could, I have a push power right? My 1 damage also pushes Dahan. You could make me use it fast.
I just eat him. I don't
He
push.
has a gather.
I do have a gather.
Right, so you could let him use his power fast as well. So any one that you choose, this is kind of one of those moments where you could kind of work together as a team and decide, like, strategically who's the best person to use that ability right now. So,
so those are usually slow actions, and this would give them an opportunity to do it as a fast action.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you can't, once it's used, you can't use it twice. So it's not like you get to do it in the once in the fast, once in the slow. But like maybe,
using
it would
fast
be great to do it right now as opposed to waiting. So
actually, it wouldn't
why
hurt.
don't you do yours now?
Okay, well, I'll gather because it's target land, mountain, one, range 1 from my presence, and so I'll just pull them in since I have a high defend. It's not going to matter right now, but
yeah, and you can also gather a town, but it looks like there is no adjacent town.
Not too
That's fine.
bad.
And you do get to add a strife. So this will, it is, so since you targeted this land, or you gathered in.
I gathered to this land, yeah, so it goes here.
So yeah, it could have just, for conversation purposes, if you wanted to, you could have gone like this way.
But,
right?
Oh, because it's gathering in. So the target, I'm choosing a mountain and then gather to the mountain.
That's totally fine. But anyways, you get to add a strife to any one of those pieces. So that one piece will do 0 damage on this next attack, on this next ravage.
Since I'm already defending there, I can add this to
any
piece.
It's kind of a false choice because it's going to get consumed anyways and it's fully defended anyways. But technically, by the rules of the game, this is what you do.
Yeah, I'll put the token there. And but it gets you a feel for how the token works and where it goes.
Yeah. And then you do have another fast power.
Choose 5 different invaders in target land.
Yep, and that has to be range 1 from a sacred site. And your only sacred site right now is right here.
So I'd be targeting this
here or here, and then those other ones don't have anything to kill, so like it's probably not a good choice. But yeah, you can choose either one of those.
So that's where it says sacred site.
That's
gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, totally.
The little double stack shiny tokens.
Double stack shiny tokens.
Yeah, and then you just do 1 damage to everything in that land, which will basically only kill explorers.
That one for now.
But you'll mark a damage for the city or no?
Yes, you do. So the way they like you to mark it is just by rolling the piece around. So yeah, you can just kind of roll it over, and that symbolizes that it's taken damage. Roll it a different way for more damage, and then it's gone.
Cool.
Sweet.
But great. So
Since
we
I've
have
used
now,
this,
yeah, I like to leave it tapped, but you always leave it in play because those elements will give you
give
your
you
innate.
there.
So yeah, I like just tapping it like in Magic. Great. So we're all done with the fast phase. Now we're going to go to the invader phase. From turn 2 on, you always will pull an event.
Oh, I guess I could have done my innate power.
Yep.
That's
a slow power.
The invaders.
You could have done it if you targeted yourself. Oh, by the way, you got targeted with that power, right? It says if you target another spirit, they gain 1 energy.
Oh.
So ka-ching.
That's good. I need energy.
Yeah, so all those cards are like better if you give it to someone else, because it's like if you target yourself, like whatever, but if you give someone else, there's an extra benefit. So I really like how this game makes you be more cohesive.
It encourages
like
you to
parallel
collaborate.
play is like actively discouraged.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna go to this event, and some of these events give you a team choice, but some of them don't. So this one, I'm just gonna force that. It's a forced thing. It's not a choice, so we don't need to do things anyway. So the island is healthy. We have not blighted. That means on each board, add an explorer to a land with blight.
Well, we only have 1 blight on each land so far because we haven't ravaged.
That's right. Yep. So we have to add an explorer to all those lands. Okay. Then
obviously
we skip this because we're not blighted. Then we go to the beasts one. So on each board, push 2 explorers or a town from a land with beast. Great job. I'm gonna take mine and I'm gonna push. And then you can push up to, so you don't have to do a push. You could just leave everything there. Or if you feel like it's beneficial, you can push up to 2 explorers or 1 single town out of that land.
Well, huge damage dealers. I'll just leave it alone.
Just leave it as is?
I think so.
Great. And then we do the Dahan one, and what's that say?
In each land with a town or city, 1 damage per Dahan. Then each surviving town or city deals 1 damage to Dahan.
Okay.
Defend normally. So this would do. So we deal damage first.
Yes.
So 1 damage.
So that does not have a
Oh,
town
it's
or
not a
city,
town
so
or city.
nothing happens.
Here it does a damage.
1 damage gets dealt. And then this would fight back and deal 1 damage back.
And they have 2 health, that's right.
Yep.
Okay, and then we've got no Dahan there, so we're back out to you guys. There's this one, so it would deal with damage. And then you have 2 Dahan.
Yep, so I'm going to do 2 damage. I'm going to kill this town.
And then you
That'll
receive
get
1
fear.
damage.
So it is defended normally. So that 1 damage is defended by my
Oh,
defend 5,
it
so
doesn't even
nothing
matter.
happens.
Defend normally apply.
And I have no other qualifying lands, so that is the end of that.
Okay.
Great. It would have been nice if you had 2 Dahan right there. It would have picked off that city for you.
Yeah, well, I probably should have left it there.
You can't predict the events.
Right?
Like,
See, that's kind of the thing is, you know, once you like really start to play the game at a high level, you're like, all right, there's like a 20% chance of me getting this event.
and you
You know,
move
like
the Dahan,
whatever.
if you move the Dahan, then you could lose some stuff. There, you lose them, then you lose some powerful tokens,
Right?
especially early game.
So let's go through our first Ravage step, and I'll kind of like dictate how it goes a little bit, so that we, you know, execute it
Okay.
right, and we'll just go this way. So we'll start here.
And it's specifically mountains that are ravaging.
Yeah,
so,
it's only the mountains that are ravaging. Mm-hmm.
so this is gonna just stop ravaging from happening. It's 0 damage, correct?
Yep, for that 1 town that it was attached to. Yep.
Oh, so it's the town that it was attached to.
Yeah. Yep. And you can attach it to anything that you wanted. But
Okay,
yeah, so that
so
town
when you
does
get
nothing.
that token, it's specifically applied to a token instead.
Yes, yeah, it's the only token that works like that. All the rest affect the land.
Okay.
But Strife would be so good if it affected the whole land.
Yeah.
Like 20 damage ravage.
Done.
Strife.
Nope. Okay, so it affects the character. Cool. So that was that, and then there's 2 damage, but it didn't matter because I had defend 9, so it's
That
just
one's good.
blocked.
Yep. And then here,
Nothing.
0.
Nothing.
Nothing. Now
There.
here's gonna hit for 4, but I have a defend 5, so no damage goes through. Then Dahan deal 2 damage each, so I will kill the city and the explorer. That'll get me 2 fear, which will get us our first fear card, but we don't get to use it for a little bit.
So you dealt 4 damage.
Mhm.
Okay. Make sure I grab that.
Okay, so let's go over here.
Nothing.
Nothing, we're good.
And
And
then there's a
we'll go over
city.
here. So how much damage is gonna get dealt here?
I'm assuming it's still just 3.
3 damage will be dealt, and
Okay.
2 is the threshold, so we
That's a
do
blight.
have to add a blight. As a
Remove
punishment for
1.
adding blight, 1 of your presents is going to be destroyed. So just put it like, you know, kind of like in this space here. There
So it
are
doesn't go
ways to
back
get it
on
back, but it's pretty rare.
So it doesn't go back on your board.
No.
It doesn't. So you don't lose progress, but you do lose board progress.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly correct.
So I had to deal 3
3.
damage here.
Now
kill
only
that,
2
yeah.
because it's only got 1 damage on it.
Correct.
So it's only got 2 health left. Okay.
Okay, so that makes sense for your first
Pretty
playthrough.
simple.
Now we're gonna build in the jungles.
So we add towns, but this would get a city,
That will get a city.
and this
Now
would
we'll get a town. Mhm.
Town.
Now that land doesn't have anything in it, and since there's no workers there, no one's there to build in that land, so nothing happens.
Nothing, nothing.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you don't add
I
people.
thought we
This
were
is
doing
building.
build.
Yeah,
I
exploring.
thought we were exploring.
Yep,
We
no
will
worries.
explore when we draw the next card.
So would
And
that
then
one
here
build
we'll
then?
just add
A
one
town.
single town,
Dunk. And his
Great.
ability.
and then we will explore the sands. So add an
Oh, boy.
explorer to. Actually, hey, this teaching moment usually doesn't come till way later in the game. But anyways, you guys explore your boards, and I'll teach on my board.
Okay.
So this whole time I've just been saying just like add a guy there, but technically the way it works is every explorer has to have a source. You have to come from an existing settlement. And take a look at this sands here. There is no adjacent town or city, which means that there's no source for the invaders.
Which is,
Therefore,
I assume, is rather rare.
it's this early in the game, it's like super rare. If you didn't give me that +3 damage because there was 2 buildings here,
Yeah, there was a city there,
Yeah.
which is
super hard to
Yeah.
get rid of.
especially turn 1 or 2.
Yeah, so there, you can kind of like trace all the way back from turn, like, what was that, turn 1,
Mm-hmm.
led us to denying an explorer from existing here. Now, it's still going to build and ravage and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff, but like it's that much easier for me now.
Yeah, but that's one less person to deal with.
right? And so in the biz, we will call this gaining a pocket, where you might strategically like build a pocket where nothing can explore, and then try and hold that pocket, so that way you hope that those specific cards keep coming up, and then you just like don't have to play the game because they don't do anything.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, so there we go. That was that. Yeah,
Doesn't do anything.
usually honestly, like, it never happens in like in these games, but I'm glad it did. So right, thanks for solving my problems. I'll have to work my way over and help you in a minute. So that was the explore, and we will now go into the slow phase. So you have your innate, and I have 2 abilities.
And I've got to look at my symbols because I've got 2 animals.
So I do have a blight removing power, so I will do that. When you remove blight, it goes back to the card, or it goes back to the pool.
I've actually got I've got enough symbols to do both.
Great.
Because I've got 2 fire, because I've got 1 on my board, and I've got 1 earth, 2 earth actually,
and
then
I've
got
pushed
2
it away
animals.
from one of my source tokens, or just adjacent.
So it's a range 1. So this is range 0. So like range 1 is like an upper limit, right? So even though this is like range 0, it still works, right? So you could get rid of here, or really anywhere on your board is all within range 1 of your presence. And then these 3 lands are also within range 1 of here. So you have a pretty wide range that you can use that ability. And generally you want to take a look and see if you can, by moving Explore, would you be able to, get you below that damage threshold on the Ravage? Or maybe you can prevent a build from happening by making sure there's nothing in that land. So yeah, that spirit's a little bit tricky because you gotta think about the game a little bit differently. But you can, prevent everything from happening just by getting rid of the Explorer. The funny thing with that guy is sometimes I find that like I've solved all my problems, and so I'll just play like 0 cards for like 2 turns in a row because like
I don't need
there's nothing to do, so like why not?
So the next thing they're going to do is ravage the jungles,
Ravage in the jungles, yeah. So you've got what, 2 damage available? 1 plus 1?
I'm deciding whether I want to go there or there. Because I can kill a town in either one, and I'll move a presence marker there. But moving a presence marker, let's see what I've got. Because I can kill one. Let's see. Okay.
I do have blight removal, so taking blight isn't nearly as bad as it could have been because I just happened to pick one up that was perfect elements for me. So I'm probably going to be playing that card quite a bit. So blight's a little bit less threatening because of that.
Just a little. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to shift this one here and get rid of that city.
Kill the city because it was already damaged.
Yep.
Get some fear.
Help us get that going on.
All right, so we've done all of our slow powers. Oh, actually, I forgot one of mine.
You had 2.
Bang it out right. I did that one. This one, I just get to deal 1 damage. Golly, 1 damage. I'll go this way. Pick you off, and that's 1 fear.
I'm aggressive to my territory.
So why'd you move your
Part of my innate is that I have to move a presence.
Same with mine.
Yeah, so
I
we
had
both
to move.
Yeah.
Well, so I could have targeted a land where I was, but I targeted this one, which is range 1, from where I was. But I was able to slide this presence over. Required. It says it's required, and then I dealt 2 damage to that city.
Okay.
Cool. So as part of time passes, the end of the round, everything heals. So anything that's damaged and tipped over, you can put it right side up and down. So unfortunately, you can't play the 1 damage card like 3 turns in a row and like finally get the job done.
Well, I'm glad I chose that city because that would have come back up.
Yep,
they're tough to kill.
They are really, cities are like the big kahunas of this game. So yeah, they're tough to deal with. Anyways, discard all cards in play, and then we go to the next turn.
Okay. And that's where we get. Yeah.
Maybe I should just take more blight removal and just kind of kick around and remove all blight.
You could. You could. And then growth. Go back. power card?
Yeah, absolutely. Minor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Minor. I'll be getting a major soon, though. Usual for this fill, it works, but I like the versatility of being able to choose.
Interesting. Very cool.
And out of the other choices were more late game.
You can target any spirit, but you can also target yourself. And so that might affect where you choose to place your presence for the turn.
Target spirit provides defend
what
2
happens
each of its
when
land.
all the elements have question marks?
Oh, ha! Okay, so that's card's really
element.
cool. That one lets you give elements to another player. So...
I guess if I read the card, that might help.
So, yeah, it can, like, help someone hit an elemental threshold. Because, like, for example, I'm only playing one card, and I'm not going to hit any elemental threshold because of it. But, like, you could target me, and if you gave me a moon and a water, then I would hit my elemental threshold. And if depending on what he chooses to play, you could give him some combination of elements, and he might gain access to more power and more damage. The cool thing with that card is that you also get the elements. So if you target me, I just told you I only need 2 elements. And even though we have no elements in common, you could give me like a wind, right? Because you like wind. And then, yeah, I get a wind. It doesn't do anything for me, but you know, my water and my moon does nothing for you. So you can kind of find ways to gain value for both players simultaneously with that card. It's a very strong card. Yeah, a lot of your deck is all about cards that boost up other players. So I think, what's the first card that you gained?
The first one?
Yeah.
Target spirit gains 2 energy at the end of turn.
Gift of Constancy? Yeah, so yeah, both of your cards, that's kind of the theme of your deck is, you know, boost up all the spirits and work with everyone to make everyone stronger. And that means that you're going to be a little weaker on your board, but I'm going to work my presence over there and I'm going to help you out as quickly as I can. So that way you can kind of, you know, play Kingmaker.
And stay alive over here.
Do you mind if I place this influence somewhere else?
Yeah.
I just placed that in the growth phase, but it's going to go away.
We haven't entered the growth phase yet, so, you know, in theory, you've not made a decision yet.
If I move it towards people, or should I just take care of my own land?
Yeah, it's kind of the funny thing with this game is, you can only do as much as you can reach. So if you can't reach another player, you just kind of got to watch them go.
Sorry. Wish I could do something. I'm super powerful here. Okay. Yeah, I just saw that. It was a wasted placement. I would have destroyed it.
Okay, so with the last half of this card, if you target another spirit, you may also reclaim 1 power card instead of discarding it.
Yeah, wait, so discards are these, right?
So yeah, reclaim this. So basically, like, let's say you chose to play that card on me, and great. Instead of when I would go to discard, but it says 1 card that you would discard instead goes back to your hand.
Oh, okay.
That's what that says. Now that also says if you target me, well, you get to do it too. So you could play a bunch of cards and then take one of them right back to your hand, and you know, it lets you not have to reclaim your entire setup. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you placed your presence for the turn?
Yes, I did. Where did I put it? I put it
over there. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I just want to remind you of your special rule. When you place presence, you can push an explorer for free. So that if you imagine like a power budget, you know how much stuff you're allowed to do. For you, that's like one of the biggest things in your power budget is that ability. So you want to be really cognizant of it.
You only need 1 token. You just mark the place.
I'm just gonna remember those over there. So then.
But yeah, so if you choose to put your presence here instead of here, you could get rid of that explorer for free, which could be beneficial because it'll kill the whole chain of.
No, you're just pushing it.
Push it somewhere else, which means that the problem no longer exists in that land, and you don't need to worry about it anymore.
For the building. Okay, got it.
So you're going to be watching these cards to choose what you're doing with these cards as well as whatever people are having.
There's just a lot of things to pay attention
There
to.
is a lot going on.
This game is hard. This BGG has it like a 4.1, which puts it in like the upper 5% of all games.
And I have never done a 4.1 game.
Base Shroud and Food and Jade Magnate sit at like 3 to 3.8 almost.
And then
so they're not quite that high.
Isn't Dead a Winner a little higher one too?
It's like a 3, not very high.
I thought it was higher.
We have not played anything that I think of that's a 4.
Yeah, this game is really tough, and so like you shouldn't feel bad about kind of struggling with the game a little bit, because especially when the game is bounced around like 0s and 1s, like the thinnest of margins can mean so much.
Yeah, especially down the line.
Yeah. So, anyways, are we all set with the cards that we want to play?
Yeah.
All right, let's rock it. Oh yeah, I'm playing that card, but it costs 0. I have nothing in the slow phase.
Nothing in the fast phase?
Or fast phase, yeah.
She's got 2.
She got 2.
Yeah, all of mine are fast cards.
There you go, except for this guy. Only slow one.
Yeah, you got a speedy
and
kitty.
Your innate power is slow.
It's very thematic for kitties.
You
got the
Very
zoomies.
you're very rarely slowing down. You're already a presence clear over here, and I'm not even close to over you.
Okay, so both of mine target spirits, so we'll just have you gain 2 energy.
Okay.
At the end of turn, targeting spirit may reclaim 1 power card instead of discarding.
Okay.
And then you get to do the same.
Yep, and then we'll target for 3 different elements of their choice.
So if you target me, I can do 1 damage. And if you target him, he gets 2 more damage. So in terms of marginal value, he gets a lot more power.
Well, so I've got 2 fire, 2 animals, and an earth. So I've already got this, and so 3 elements of choice. So I would just choose fire and animal, and that would give me up to the 2.
And then she also gets copies of the same elements. So if she had an element that she could gain a benefit from,
I could choose a 3rd one.
You could choose a 3rd one to help
her. Is there one that you need?
No,
because she's blank out.
Wind.
She's got.
Yeah, she has no wind.
She needs
need
a
a
wind
second
there.
wind.
Nope. So
Yeah,
I'll
whatever.
just choose fire because fire's great.
All right, cool. Great. So we do have these. If you want, you can just memorize it, or we do have these little element tokens as like a physical reminder that you have extra elements. So I'll just kind of give you a fire animal, so you just remember you have it for the turn.
Okay.
And then during cleanup, we'll pitch those.
I'm just putting it next to the spot that it activates. So.
Great. That is it for fast. So now we will go to the slow phase.
Which is their ravage first.
Yes, and the first step is actually the event.
Oh yeah.
Oh
boy.
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Is it Fear Blight card event, or is it event? It's this. It's the event. Yeah.
Event then Fear.
Yeah. Event and Fear. Okay, so Healthy Island. During the next normal ravage, each town does +1 damage.
If there is no ravage this phase, leave this card by the ravage space until this. Okay, so if this was an early one, it wouldn't do anything.
So towns do an extra damage on this ravage. Okay.
Okay.
And then
overcrowded cities on each board.
That's only if the island is blighted, which it is not. So we get to skip that one.
And what counts as a blighted island? The entire thing.
Once all these go away, we'll flip this card, and a bad thing's going to happen, and then we are blighted.
Oh boy.
But the blight pool will. Once you're blighted, you're blighted.
Oh, that's.
But
okay.
Once you cross that, there will be more blight added. At which point it would trigger the loss if you burn through that whole deck.
Oh, okay.
So we got quite a bit of time, and I have 2 blight removal cards. So we've got quite a bit of time.
Okay. Beasts prey on the unwary. Each beast destroys 1 invader.
1 explorer. Yeah.
1 explorer. Add 1 beast on a board without 1. We all have beasts, and so this will just destroy.
That's right. And then I have nothing. She has nothing, so nothing happens. Okay.
Okay.
What happens next?
Coming of age. On each board, add 1 Dahan to a jungle or wetland with 1 Dahan.
So each of us have our own board. You can choose any jungle or any wetland that already has Dahan. She has 2 in her hand.
Oh, that one's.
And then just add 1 more to it.
Okay, well I'm going to put it here. That'll destroy all those. Oh, they do 2 damage each?
Yep.
Well, I might as well just have it. I can push them around.
I think that's a good spot.
It's not bad. Okay, that's it for the event.
Okay, then we get to go to fear.
Boom.
And so we are at terror level 1. We start at terror level 1. If you gain enough fear cards, you will increase in terror level, which makes the fear cards better.
So
but right now we're at terror level 1, and it says lands with Dahan have defend 1 per Dahan.
Oh, nice.
So you get a free defend here, which means no blight.
Yay, that's really good. Although I'm not presence there, so it'll be good. No
and these, there's nothing there to defend. There's no Dahan, no Dahan, no Dahan. So it does benefit you. Every fear card in the game is either beneficial.
Did you push them out of the sand, or was this because I think you?
Oh, sorry, it was in the sands. Thank you.
You're good.
Every fear card in the game is either helpful or useless. There are no bad fear cards.
Okay.
So there is a strategy that exists where you just try and get as many fear cards as quickly as you can, and hopefully those random effects will like win the game for you.
Yeah, they might do that.
But anyways, let's go through the Ravage.
Okay.
So
we've got these guys down here. We're going to do 3 damage, and that's enough to blight, but these guys defend because of the fear card.
Yep.
And then these guys are going to do 6 damage.
So let's play this one out first.
Yeah. Oh, because they're
no blight's added, but then we get to
attack?
do the Dahan counterattack.
Okay,
Yeah.
well that's 6 damage, so that's going to kill both of them.
Great.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
continue on.
I like the Dahan. So that's 6 damage here, so we're going to definitely get a blight. There's no defense or anything going on there.
Okay.
And then that's over to you, which your jungle's
nothing. And then here.
Oh, so we're
We've
just
already
looking
got
at
a-
Dahan right now?
No, the jungle.
Just jungles.
It's ravaging the
jungles,
jungle
okay.
specifically.
Okay. Yeah, this one would definitely...
So it's already got a blight. What do you do with that? Add another one?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's going to be hitting for more than 2. So therefore we add a blight. Now, whenever you add a blight to a land that already has blight, you add another blight.
Oh, lovely.
And it has to go to an adjacent land. So not where it is, but in a neighboring land. And then all the normal blight rules apply. Yes. So you would destroy presence. Or if you went into a land with blight, you have to cascade again.
That's like a pandemic mechanism.
Well, let's not do that. Let's just go there.
Do you want to go here? Okay, just take note that now, because we know that's ravaging next, you know, hey,
it's not happening yet.
If you got it covered, you got it covered, and you're totally cool. But you want to make sure you got it covered, because then you blight, cascade. No matter where you go, you'd have to cascade again, and you know that'll be enough to probably flip the card. So,
okay, it has to go adjacent to here.
Correct.
So you could put it here, and there if you really want to. Yeah, it's not bad. There's no one there, so.
It might be most beneficial.
That would destroy your presence.
No. I can't get it back.
Can't get it back.
No, that's the real tough part.
I think that's the best choice. All right.
Next.
We survived.
Okay, then we
made it through
we
the
build.
round. And now we build in all of the sands.
Okay, so I get a 10 and nothing.
Correct. Yeah.
So.
Why did you destroy your disease?
Oh,
a
a disease gets consumed to prevent a build.
So like
that
if
is
something
what
built
disease
here,
does.
So if something built here, it would get
Yeah.
Mine
You're very
disappeared
first.
kind of quickly.
Yeah, very first turn. And then how do you build over here? In the
so
building in the
sands.
sands.
So I go here then.
town there.
You'll get a town there. Looks like you have no more. I'll grab some more for you. Put a town right there. And then how about your number 5?
No.
Nothing, because there's nothing there.
Right.
Then we explore.
Then we explore. So we explore the wetlands.
Oh, hold on. Okay, there's a town there. Okay.
I need another soldier.
There's another guy. Oh, this guy. Okay.
Okay, so this one has a little symbol on it.
Has a little.
See how it has that little building with the flag
It's
symbol?
different than a town.
So that is called the stage 2 escalation. When
Okay.
you're playing against one of the invaders, whenever that symbol pops up, you have to do an extra effect.
Oh,
And guess
boy.
what? We're playing against an invader and you didn't even know.
Oh boy, we're playing against an invader.
So let's say we're playing against the Kingdom of Brandenburg, Prussia. Their stage 2 escalation says that you have to add a town to any, and all of us have to do this, so on every board, add a town to a land that does not have a town.
So every one of them gets a town.
Just to one
without a
single
town.
land.
Oh, one single land?
Yeah, and you can pick wherever you want it to go. So recognize that we're going to be ravaging in the sands and building in the wetlands. You might want to avoid those.
Okay. So I could put it there?
You could go right there. That's perfectly fine. And you have to...
Can I put it in? But it has to be one that doesn't have one. No, these don't destroy.
As long as it doesn't have a town. So I could choose to go like right here because there's no town, even though there's a city. But I'm going to choose to go here. And yep, so anywhere that doesn't have a town. So these 3 lands are not allowed to go, but the other 5, you can just add a town to any one of those. And I think that jungle is a great spot for it.
Perfect. Okay.
Great.
Slow powers, yes?
Yep. So so with that little escalation, we can see the invader, as we're getting stronger, the invaders are also going to get a little bit stronger. So they're going to keep pace with us.
We're going to try to outpace them.
We need to outpace them, but they're getting stronger just like we are. So that's this game can be pretty tough. You know, every time you think you're ahead, you're not.
Just kidding, guys.
Gotcha. So anyways, now we're on the slow phase, and I'm going to target you with this power. You can pay 1 energy to gain a power card.
That's awesome.
Right.
And because I targeted another player, I'm going to pay 2 energy to gain a power card.
Okay, wait. Say what I got again.
You get to draw. You pay an energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pay 1 energy, and you get your power card. And your next one's a major. So I get to, let's see what I'm doing here. 0, 0. Can I do my, since they're also, I could do my innate power first, yes?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. So I was going to...
And yeah, you also have the extra elements, so now you get to do 4 damage.
4 damage. So I'm going to do 4 damage and take out that and that.
Okay. That'll give you 2 fear.
Yep. And then we're going to range 0. We are going to... Gather? Can I gather 10? I can. Okay, we're going to do this.
Okay.
Wait, it's range 0. It doesn't... Oh, yeah, I can. Range 0. This one. We're going to gather this 10.
Okay.
There.
That produces fear.
1 fear. And then we produce another fear. And then we do 3 damage, but 4. And I can do it to towns or them. So I can destroy both towns.
Yep, and that gives you 2 more fear.
Oh, lots and lots of fear. Oh, and...
Yep, so that was 4
since
damage.
I did this, I did that. Okay.
And then you can reclaim one of your cards.
Yep, and then and then you as well can reclaim one of those cards instead of discarding.
I'm not sure which one I want yet.
I got it reclaimed.
Yeah.
Awesome. That felt really cool. I see them come on and you're like, oh no. Oh, okay, I got this. But then they're still like, oh my.
Yeah, so just watch out. You're looking pretty dangerous. You're going to be Ravage Cascading.
Yep. But I have no other blight surrounding it, so.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
an interesting strategic thought. We're going to have to live with our lives these days. But had you done your 4 damage here, you would have prevented the Blight Cascade. So even though this land was super threatening, it's not really threatening because there's no card for it,
There's no card
right?
for it. No jungle up until...
So that's kind of the interesting thing with this game is like a strategy could just be to like ignore your problems.
Ignore
because
this is
it
not...
might not...
They're not doing anything. They're just farming the land. So we'll just come kill them later.
And then the danger is you ignore your problems for too
bubbling
long, and then you have to pay that
explode.
bill, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
whoops.
yeah, does it bite you in the butt, especially with people. Way cool.
All right, so there we go. We're on to the next turn.
Okie dokie. So I don't have those anymore. Wow. Let's do this. Presents, and it can go.
Man, I got all 4 cards are completely off element for me.
Oh.
So that's tough. I gotta make real choices now.
I'm gonna be right there.
Yeah.
Put my
2 turns in a row again off
am I
element.
doing presence and energy or presence and can I get 3 energy?
So I'll go there. 2 for the turn. Play grip.
Now, do Dahan naturally provide defense or no?
They do not.
They have to have a card or
And
something.
it's kind of funny. I was going to do it as a teaching moment, but we got the fear card that saved us. The Dahan take damage before they deal damage.
Yeah, so they can
which
die.
means that they can die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's especially funny because here the town's doing extra damage, and the situation was something like this.
Yeah.
So normally it would have been 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. 1 Dahan survives, fights back. But that 1 extra damage would have been huge because it would have killed all of the Dahan, and then nothing fights back.
Yeah.
Which is a significant difference.
That is a big difference.
Yeah, and like I was saying, this game exists on the thinnest of margins. That 1 damage could have a long cascading effect. But it all worked out for you. Believe in the fear.
I am going to change my mind on the 3 energy though. I am going to take a power card instead.
Minor or major?
Minor. And then I think I'll do my reclaim and then major powers.
And there's no obligation really to ever go for majors.
I want to.
Okay.
It's part of the
You
experience of the game.
You want to slam down.
But it just hasn't made sense to go for a major at the point yet because I can only play 2 cards and my energy generation has grown to be able to match what I need to play with what I have. Taking on the major power might slow that down, which is fine because it might be enough power. But I want to be able to get to 3 cards.
Definitely
and
an
do that.
interesting major card. Okay.
Oh, you gained a major.
Yeah.
That means you need to permanently lose a card.
Out
I
of
gotta
discard.
take 'em out.
And it could be any of your cards. Technically, you can also get rid of the major to itself. You don't gain a lot of value from it.
Yeah.
But it is a choice that you can gain. So if there's a particular card that you just don't believe in, what I can't even remember what's in that deck. What's the major you gain?
2
Vigor of the Breaking
damage
Game.
per-
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Some guys call that the best one in the game. So there you go. Now it gives you offense.
Now let's see if I understand how to use it.
Yeah, you actually have a perfect setup to use that card. So I'll challenge it this way. I will challenge you to play that card this turn while also hitting the elemental threshold. If you do that this turn, I guarantee you will have a fan.
Remind me the elemental threshold.
So if you look at the card, on the bottom of it, it says if you have these elements in play, you gain an additional effect.
Major.
And I guarantee that if you do that this turn, it will be an amazing turn. So that is my challenge for you this turn, is to, you're gonna have to forget some cards, but before you decide which one to get rid of, you may want to plan out, how am I gonna play this card and hit that elemental threshold, because you would hate to get rid of a card that has a necessary element.
What's
so
funny
I
is
have to get rid of
I
one
get
of my
free energy
cards.
anyway,
Yep.
because
Already.
I get 2 energy for my income. I would have had 6. I just look at it. I got rid of it because I did this.
I don't want to get rid of that one because that can help me get that threshold in the first place.
It could.
It could easily. Oh
That
man.
can hit any threshold. It's pretty flexible. It's one of those cards that everyone likes.
Yeah, I have 1 some initially on those 2. I just don't know where I'm gonna get 2 of those. Oh, I guess that has 1.
When it says each of its lands when we're defending, is that only ones that you have presence in?
Yes. Basically, another way you could say, every presence has defend 2
That's what I was figuring.
on the entire island. Which, if you have spirits that can move a lot of presence, or late in the game, when you just have 10 presence on the board, it can be crazy good.
Crap, did I put a thing on?
If you reclaimed, then you do not add a presence.
Right.
For you,
Your spirit
did you get
doesn't.
an energy?
But both of us do. So
Yeah, we had a lot of presence.
Hmm.
But yours, you get to add your presence at a lot more range.
What
I'm very.
card am I causing,
Me
guys?
too.
I don't know. You
I
can
got-
close your eyes and flip a card. If you're really that tight, I would look at your elemental symbols.
yeah, maybe
Right,
that
right.
yeah.
I
Actually,
can
one of those
only
2 that
play
you haven't
2
played are
cards.
the same, but yeah, those 2 cards are very much the same. So forgetting one of those 2 is not a bad idea, because they both have the same effect.
If you want to lose one of these are almost the same.
Right.
Or maybe you really like that effect and you want to keep it.
You could do that too.
You could.
You're not helpful, guys.
If I had $1 for every time I was told I wasn't helpful.
Just wait till you have kids. You'll make your money.
You're never helpful. Okay, well.
Yep, and then if you're gonna permanently lose a card, just give it to me. Oh, that one? Great. Yeah, I was just gonna put it right where you already did. So.
Oh, perfect. Out of the way.
Great. Awesome. And then did you gain your 2 energy for the turn?
No, I didn't.
And your 1 free energy for reclaiming?
No.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the card. Great. So now you can play. You can play up to 2 cards, but yeah, definitely playing that major with threshold is once you kind of like see how that card works once, you're like, all right, that's all I'm gonna do for the rest of the game now.
Okay, so I could get it.
Man, if I had an
so
earth
there.
symbol, I'd be able to get that.
I need a 3rd sun. I don't know where I'm
Maybe
gonna
you gotta
get
change your card to play.
that.
No, because I'd miss out on the 2 suns. Well, I wouldn't. I'd get 2 and 2.
A little bit of a trade-off. Huh.
Oof.
I'd rather
Man,
kill.
this game gives you
I'd
hard choices.
rather kill the town. Get rid of the town before it gets out of hand.
So you're definitely getting a hang of like the decision tree on this game.
I feel like I'm getting that decision tree. I wouldn't say I'm grappling with the depths of it, but I get that. Like,
Acknowledging that it's there.
Right, like this allows me to, if it has a beast, I can destroy a explorer or a town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind. I got it to work.
You got it to work?
I got it to work.
All right, we made it. We're here
Fast
for it.
powers. You guys have fast powers.
I do. I'm going to use a defense
That's
6.
all I have.
You're
No,
fast.
I think I got rid of. Oh
No,
no, I
you
didn't
have
get
one
rid of my
slow.
1 slow turtle one.
Except for your innate power.
Yeah, but you only have 1 win, so you don't have the innate this turn. Darn. But I did my 1 fast power, so I will pass it over to you. What do you got?
Let's target spirit may. Let's see. That's who we want to target with that one.
Push, pull, gather.
Yeah.
I only have destroy.
Well, that innate says gather.
That
because
does,
you
yeah,
gather
because I will
one of your
gather.
presents, which means this whole innate could be turned into a fast power.
True.
Well, let's do that.
Cool. So you don't have to
okay.
use it fast. It's just you now have the ability to do so, but...
And it's only this.
Actually, wait, you don't even have access to... yeah, you don't have the earth, you can't do damage, but you can move a presence fast.
Yeah.
So
So if I want to move a presence,
could be
I
a
could.
benefit.
Oh, and I didn't add them. That's this turn.
I don't have a presence. So I
While
really
he's
want
working on that, you also have your major with threshold.
But I do have a card I'm going to reclaim that we use these stuff on. But I could leave them there. I'm just going to...
And you can also choose to wait until the invaders do their thing, and then you figure out what's happening next.
Yeah. So can you use a fast player in the slow phase? A fast player in the slow phase?
No.
No, only on the fast phase.
Only in the fast.
I'm going to wait to see what they do, because I may move a presence.
But she did target you, so you do gain energy off of her card, so it's not a blank. Right? It still gives you a benefit.
Nice.
Okay, range 2 for this one.
And that's an upper limit, so you could do it range 1 or range 0. So it just means that at this point you can target basically everything on the entire board.
What's your presence?
But yep, just thinking about where you want to use that. Take a look at where the invaders are going to be active and see where you can maximize your value.
Wait, so okay, so they're gonna ravage and
So yeah, if you had a land that had Dahan and invaders in the sands, you could use that ability to destroy the invaders such that they're not going to, fight back. So that could be a good way to prevent blight if there was a land in the sands that had invaders in Dahan.
You can't move them though, right?
You do damage, and then after you do damage, you get to move them and do damage again.
Oh.
So that's the real power of
So
the
you're
threshold.
doing this first one, and then this.
Yeah. Yep.
If
You execute the card from top to bottom.
okay.
So to really gain a ton of value, see if there's a way you can like destroy 2 lands, right?
Would move this into here?
Yeah, so you could target there, and that would destroy all the invaders, and then you also get to move the Dahan and then deal even more damage.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you deal 4 damage, which kills all of that. And you can move them into the blighted land. Come here, you guys. And then you deal what?
And then do another 2 damage per
Do
Dahan.
4 damage? Wow. So you couldn't kill all of it, because...
Yep.
Oh, you could.
Yeah,
2.
there was 2 in there, and there's 1 city.
No, that's... Wow.
Did you pay for that, by the way? Did you pay your 4 energy for the turn?
Nope. Here, we'll do that now.
She's not very...
It's so easy to be rich when you never pay for anything.
She's still rich anyway.
I knew I had it.
You do have it.
All right, sweet.
That's the fast powers.
So yeah, so that card is, as you can tell, is like crazy strong now.
Powerful.
Especially going into this wetlands, because you got all those have Dahan, so like you can, it's a easy way to like get stuck in a reclaim loop, because you're like, oh, I could kill those things. Oh, I reclaim and I kill those things, and then I reclaim and I kill those things.
And it's like, wow.
You're like, I forgot to grow this whole game. All right, let's go into the invader phase, and we'll go to an event.
So on each board, add 1 blight to a land with a town or a city.
Mm-hmm. But spirits may prevent this by paying 2 energy.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah. So it's
okay.
number of cards in discard, which is 2. So if you don't want to add a blight to your board, pay 2 energy.
And it has to be where there's a town?
In a land with a town or city. Yep. So I'm going to pay 2 energy.
I am, because of the cascading effect. I'm planning on that not going any further.
All right, great. So we all paid?
Yep.
Great. In each land with disease, so that's here, 1 damage to each invader and 1 damage to each Dahan.
He goes 1 hit and he dies.
Great. Each spirit may add a Dahan to one of their lands, so at range 0, where you already have Dahan.
Okay.
So
that doesn't
another,
cost anything. I can add
just as long as
it's range 0.
A range 0, yeah.
So
Where
like, there is Dahan already.
So like that's not going to work for you, but that would. In fact, that's your own choice.
Yep. That's okay.
And then it has to be in one of your.
Oh no, you're not supposed to.
So it could go
there.
And
there.
Oh. Or there.
Or there.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, way too much value.
It's not going to do a ton of good there. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean,
there's no downside.
There is no downside. It could just sit around. It might be helpful on his board right now, but too many Dahan might be helpful. Did we already break the fear?
Yep, because she
we
gave
did
us
do
the
some
last.
We did hit some heavy hits.
Mm-hmm. And this one says defend 3 in all coastal lands.
Coastal,
so that's adjacent to the ocean.
So 1,
So
2.
This defend 6 was useless. So, and that dealing with that was also useless. So
I don't know though. Futuristically, if we have another sand pop right up, it'll be nice not to have a bunch of other stuff in it.
Right.
That's
cool. So after that, we can go through the Ravage. So her board's easy, so that's done. I get a Blight.
And then I have a Cascading Blight.
Blight Cascade. There's only one Blight left.
Choose where it goes?
That's right.
Well, I want that Blight to go somewhere where I don't have presence. So let's.
It has to be adjacent. So
it's going to go to that right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine with me.
Great. And then we will build in the wetlands.
Okay. So this wetland will receive a town, and this wetland can't build because there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
And then this
don't even have to destroy the thing.
It's a town.
So that one, my special rule says that where I have a sacred site, instead of adding a building, I add an explorer.
Oh, because you have a sacred site.
Because I have a sacred site. That is my special rule. That's the way I get it.
She gets a city.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a town.
And a town. All right, and then we will explore the coastal lands. So all 3 of your coastal lands will all get explored.
That's exciting. Okay, explore.
Coastal lands?
Yeah, they just landed another ship.
Yep.
Over here?
Yeah, all 3.
So yeah, so right here is your ocean. So anything adjacent to the ocean is the coast.
All 3 of those.
So an interesting thing for you, you have a coastal wetland, and that means it's gonna ravage, build, and then ravage again.
Wait, what?
your coastal wetlands. This is all going to go
So
far.
that qualifies as both a coastal land and a wetland, so you definitely want to deal with that land, or else life's going to get real bad
And
for
this
you.
one's going to be the interesting one. But I can block the build because of the disease.
Yep, and it's just going to kill itself on the Ravage because it's only deal 1 damage and then kill it. So you've got it easy, but she's in for a fun day.
You guys need to help me. Why are you over there right now? Come on.
It takes a while to burrow through the ground.
And we only have that much blight.
And then that was the Explorers, so now it's
the slow phase. And I got a card that adds 2 different kinds of tokens, so I need to grab some stuff.
Yeah, I got another one that does different tokens too.
I should have put her in her bed. I should have put her in her bed when she fell asleep.
So I'll add it.
So I'm gonna do this. This adds. We add a fear, or no, we don't. I'm targeting the land to destroy the town.
Yeah.
I'm destroying the town.
Okay. So I'll get you on the fear. Yeah. So it's either get a fear or maybe get a fear.
That's paying 4. And then this one is range 0, but I also have the stuff to do my innate power. So let's see where I'm present at. Wetlands are ravaging next?
Yes.
Okay, well then I'm just going to do that there. So this will do 4 damage, so I can kill all of that. And I get another fear.
Another fear? Okay.
Yeah, I destroyed a town there, and that was because of this. Oh, and another fear. 1 for the town.
1 for the card and 1 for the town.
Yep. And then I can do this.
And that one, no, you already used it.
She changed it to fast. That's right.
Did you use it? I don't think you did.
I didn't.
You had the choice and you chose not to.
I chose not to. So
cool.
I did not choose to because she swapped it to fast, so it's not used.
Where did you use that card?
Wetland.
Oh, okay. And there was like a town and an explorer?
There was a town and 2 explorers.
That's perfectly efficient.
It's 4 damage, 4 people.
Alright, so this game did not go on for very much longer than what was just shown in the video. We wound up hitting the fear card Explorers Are Reluctant at fear level 2. That's the one that skips the next normal Explorer, but then in the next Invader phase, draw 2 Explore cards. So we wound up getting that, and I think that's one of the best fear cards in the game. Because it gives you the free turn, and we were able to leverage that free turn in order to kill all of the cities and push us across the threshold to hit terror level 3, which allowed us to win. We did wind up flipping the Blight card, and we wound up getting the Blight card Untended Land Crumbles. That's the one, it's 4 Blight per player, and then each turn you either have to add a Blight, destroy a presence, or pay 3 energy for each board. So, it was good choice Blight card, and we wound up getting that, kind of dramatic finish where we were trying to cobble together a victory before we had to deal with basically every single land on the entire island building at the same time, and then leading to like a full island ravage. So, a little bit of drama, but it was really good teamwork, and they pulled it out. They wound up loving the game, and from what I heard, they've already ordered it online. So, altogether, a successful day of Spirit Island. Thank you for watching the video, and have a good day.